blood doesn't wash off marble easily. Aria Bennett learned that the hard way, standing in Dante Moretti's penthouse at 3 in the morning, watching crimson swirl down the drain. Not her blood. Not yet. But in this world, his world, it was only a matter of time. 6 months ago, she'd sold herself to save her mother's life, married a monster in Armani who ruled the city's underworld with ice-cold precision. He promised money, protection, nothing more. No love, no loyalty. Especially not loyalty. She should have known better than to expect either from a man who'd already given his heart to someone else. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I want to see how far this story travels. And if you want to know whether Aria survives what's coming, hit that like button and stay until the end. The fluorescent lights in County General's billing office made everything look sicker than it already was. Aria had spent enough time in hospitals over the past 3 months to know that this particular shade of white wasn't meant to comfort anyone. It was designed to make you sign whatever they put in front of you just to get the hell out. Miss Bennett, the billing specialist, Karen, according to her name tag, didn't look up from her computer screen. Your mother's surgery is scheduled for next Wednesday. We'll need the deposit by Monday. That's $47,000. Aria's stomach dropped. Again, she'd heard the number before, but it never got easier. I submitted the financial aid application 2 weeks ago. Denied. Karen finally glanced up, her expression as warm as the linoleum floor. Your student loans put you over the income threshold. You make too much to qualify. I make $23,000 a year as a research assistant. Then perhaps you should consider a different hospital. County General is the only hospital with a cardiac surgeon who specializes in my mother's condition within 200 miles. Aria's fingers tightened around the strap of her second-hand bag. We've had this conversation. Karen's sigh suggested she'd rather be anywhere else. Miss Bennett, I understand your situation is difficult, but without payment, we cannot proceed with the surgery. Your mother's condition is serious, but it's not classified as immediately life-threatening, which means not immediately life-threatening? Aria's voice cracked. She has 6 months. Maybe. Her mitral valve is barely functioning. Every day we wait increases the risk of... I'm not a doctor, Miss Bennett. I process billing. Karen turned back to her screen, a clear dismissal. You have until Monday at 5 p.m. Cash, certified check, or approved financing only. Aria stood there for another moment, pride and panic warring in her chest, before turning and walking out. Her sneakers squeaked against the polished floor, a sound that had become the soundtrack to her slow-motion disaster of a life. Outside, the city stretched in all directions under a gray October sky. She'd grown up here, knew every street, every shortcut, every corner where something bad had happened to someone who'd trusted the wrong person. And now she was about to become another cautionary tale. Her phone buzzed. Rent reminder, due in 5 days. Another buzz, student loan payment, overdue. She silenced it and kept walking. The medical school library was nearly empty when she arrived. Most of her classmates were either in study groups or had gone home for the weekend, home to families who could afford to send them care packages and pay their tuition without taking out loans that would follow them to the grave. Aria headed to her usual corner on the 4th floor, behind the cardiology section, where no one ever ventured unless they were desperately behind or desperately avoiding someone. She was both. Her anatomy textbook lay open to the chapter on cardiac pathophysiology. Ironic, really. She could recite every detail of mitral valve prolapse, could describe the surgical procedure her mother needed with clinical precision, but she couldn't do a damn thing to actually save her. You look like you're about to murder that textbook. Aria glanced up. Marcus Chen, one of the few people in her program who didn't treat her like a scholarship case, stood there with 2 coffee cups. Only if it starts talking back. She accepted the coffee. Thanks. Marcus dropped into the chair across from her. Heard you missed Dr. Patterson's lecture this morning. That's not like you. I was at the hospital. Your mom? Aria nodded, not trusting herself to say more. Marcus was quiet for a moment. How much do you need? More than you have. She managed a weak smile. More than anyone has, unless they're robbing banks or selling kidneys. Have you considered everything? I've considered everything. She closed her textbook. Loans, fundraisers, selling everything I own. I'm about 2 steps away from one of those help me GoFundMe pages with a sad photo and a sadder story. Would that be so bad? Yes. The word came out harsher than she intended. Sorry, I can't. I can't put my life on the internet and beg strangers for money. I can't. Marcus held up his hands. Okay, I get it. Pride. Survival. Aria stared at her coffee. Once you start begging, you never stop. My mom taught me that. Your mom also taught you to accept help when you need it. Help is different than charity. Sometimes they're the same thing. Before Aria could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Is this Aria Bennett? A woman's voice, professional and crisp. Yes. Please hold for Mr. Moretti. Aria's blood went cold. Everyone in the city knew that name. Dante Moretti, the man who owned half the politicians, all the judges who mattered, and more legitimate businesses than anyone could prove were actually legitimate. The kind of man whose name you didn't say out loud unless you wanted to end up as a cautionary tale. Miss Bennett. The voice that came on the line was deep, controlled, with the faintest trace of an accent that suggested old money and older power. I understand you're experiencing financial difficulties. Who is this really? I told you, Dante Moretti. We have a mutual acquaintance who thought I might be able to help with your situation. Aria stood up, moving away from Marcus. I don't know you. I don't have mutual acquaintances with people like you, and I'm not interested in whatever you're selling. I'm not selling anything, Miss Bennett. I'm offering a solution to your problem. You don't know what my problem is. Your mother needs cardiac surgery. $47,000 by Monday. You're a second-year medical student with $180,000 in existing debt, working a part-time research position that pays barely enough to cover rent in a neighborhood most people are smart enough to avoid. You're 3 months behind on utilities and 2 months from losing your apartment. He paused. Should I continue? Aria's hand tightened around the phone. That's stalking. That's illegal. That's public record and basic observation. You're not as invisible as you think, Miss Bennett. His tone didn't change, didn't warm. Meet me tonight, 8 p.m., the Belmonte Hotel, penthouse suite. Come alone. I'm not meeting you anywhere. Then your mother dies. No emotion, just fact. Those are the options available to you, pride or survival. You have 7 hours to decide which matters more. The line went dead. Aria stood there, phone still pressed to her ear, while her carefully constructed world continued its freefall toward rock bottom. Marcus was watching her. Who was that? Wrong number. The lie came automatically. Aria, I have to go. She grabbed her bag, shoved her books inside. I'll see you Monday. Wait. But she was already gone, down the stairs and out into the cold afternoon air that tasted like rain and poor decisions. The Belmonte Hotel rose 40 stories above the financial district, all glass and steel and the kind of quiet wealth that didn't need to announce itself. Aria had walked past it 1,000 times, had never once imagined she'd step inside. The lobby was decorated in shades of cream and gold, with modern art on the walls that probably cost more than her mother's surgery. A few well-dressed people moved through the space like they belonged there. Like this was normal, like marble floors and crystal chandeliers were just part of everyday life. Aria approached the front desk in her jeans and university sweatshirt, feeling every eye in the room track her movement. I'm here to see... She stopped. How did you announce you were visiting a Mafia boss? Mr. Moretti. Penthouse. The desk clerk didn't even blink. Name? Aria Bennett. A few keystrokes. Take the elevator on the right. It will only go to the penthouse. You're expected. The elevator was all mirrors and soft lighting that made Aria look exactly like what she was, a broke student about to make the worst decision of her life. She watched her reflection as the numbers climbed. 10, 20, 30. Each floor another chance to turn back. She didn't take any of them. The doors opened directly into a penthouse that looked like it belonged in a magazine spread about people whose problems couldn't be solved with money because they had too much of it already. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, modern furniture that was somehow both minimal and expensive, art that she recognized from her one elective art history class. And standing by the window, looking out over his kingdom, was Dante Moretti. He was younger than she'd expected. Mid-30s, maybe. Tall, dark-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her car. Everything about him was controlled. His posture, his expression, the way he turned to look at her without any wasted movement. Miss Bennett, not a question. You came. You didn't leave me much choice. There's always a choice. He gestured to the leather sofa. Sit. I'd rather stand. Suit yourself? He moved to the bar, poured 2 glasses of something amber. Drink? No. He set both glasses down. You're angry. That's fair. I invaded your privacy, made implicit threats regarding your mother's life, called you here without explanation. He picked up 1 glass. But you still came, which tells me you're desperate enough to listen. Say what you have to say. Dante studied her for a long moment. You need money. I need a wife. I'm proposing a business arrangement that benefits us both. Aria actually laughed. You're insane. Hardly. I'm practical. He took a sip. My father built an empire through violence and fear. Effective but unsustainable in modern society. I've spent the last 5 years legitimizing our operations. Real estate, restaurants, construction, all legal, all profitable. But there are still elements within the organization who resist change, who see my methods as weak. What does this have to do with me? Perception is everything in my world. A wife, the right wife, sends a message. Stability, legitimacy. A man who's building a legacy, not just running criminal enterprises. He set down the glass. You're perfect. Medical student. No criminal connections. Photogenic. Smart enough to play the role convincingly. You want to hire me to pretend to be your wife. I want to marry you. Legally. Publicly. For a period of 2 years, after which we divorce quietly, and you receive a settlement generous enough to complete medical school debt-free with money left over. Aria's head was spinning. People don't do this. This isn't real. It's perfectly real and perfectly legal. Marriages of convenience are as old as marriage itself. Dante pulled a folder from his briefcase, set it on the table. The contract. Your mother's surgery will be paid in full by tomorrow morning. All medical bills, current and future. You'll live here, appear with me at public events, play the devoted wife. In private, we maintain separate lives. After 2 years' divorce, you walk away with $5 million. The number hit her like a physical blow. $5 million. Tax-free, plus your mother's medical care, your student loans paid, condemned, and a living stipend during the marriage. He opened the folder. Read it. Take your time. My lawyer can answer any questions. Aria didn't move. Couldn't move. Why me? You could have anyone. Because you have something most people in my world don't. The ability to walk away. You're not impressed by money or power. You're here out of necessity, not greed. That makes you trustworthy in ways a woman who wants this life could never be. He met her eyes. And because you're a survivor, Miss Bennett, I respect that. You don't know anything about me. I know you've worked 3 jobs while maintaining a 3.9 GPA. I know you spent your 18th birthday in a women's shelter with your mother after your father cleaned out your bank account and disappeared. I know you put yourself through undergrad on scholarships and spite. I know you're too proud to ask for help and too stubborn to quit. He pushed the contract toward her. I know exactly who you are. The question is whether you're willing to do what it takes to save your mother's life. Aria looked down at the contract. 50 pages of legal language that boiled down to one simple transaction. 2 years of her life for her mother's survival. What's the catch? Her voice came out smaller than she intended. There's always a catch. The catch is that this is my world, with my rules. You'll be photographed, scrutinized. There will be danger, though I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe. You'll have to convince people we're in love, and you'll have to accept that for 2 years, your life isn't entirely your own. He paused. But your mother lives. That's the trade. I need time to think. You have until midnight. After that, the offer expires. Aria picked up the contract with shaking hands. I need a lawyer. Page 47. I've arranged for independent legal counsel. She's on retainer, waiting for your call. Dante pulled out a business card. She doesn't work for me. She works for you. Call her. Read every word. Make your decision. And if I say no, then you walk out that door and we never speak again. Your mother's surgery won't happen. You'll lose your apartment. You'll probably have to drop out of medical school. But you'll have your pride. He met her eyes. So ask yourself, Miss Bennett, What's pride worth to you? Aria took the contract and the business card, turned toward the elevator. She was halfway there when his voice stopped her. One more thing. She looked back. This arrangement is professional, nothing more. I'm not interested in you romantically. I'm not interested in anyone that way. Something cold flickered in his expression. Don't mistake this for a fairy tale. I'm not a prince. I'm not going to fall in love with you. This is business. Remember that, and we'll get through the next 2 years just fine. The words should have been reassuring. They weren't. Aria rode the elevator down in silence, clutching the contract like a lifeline or a noose. She couldn't tell which. The lawyer's name was Rebecca Santos, and she met Aria at an all-night diner in a part of town where nobody asked questions. I've reviewed the contract. Rebecca was mid-40s, sharp-eyed, with an expression that suggested she'd seen worse things than a coerced marriage. It's airtight, heavily weighted in your favor, actually, which surprises me. Why? Because Dante Moretti doesn't do favors. If he's offering you this deal, he needs you as much as you need him. She turned to a page marked with a sticky note. You'll receive $10,000 monthly stipend, all living expenses paid, complete medical coverage for you and your mother, and the $5 million settlement is guaranteed regardless of the reason for divorce, even if you're the one who ends it early. What's he getting? A wife who shows up, looks the part, and doesn't embarrass him. That's it. No sexual obligations, that's specifically stated here. No requirement to love him or even like him. You attend events, you smile for cameras, you sleep in separate bedrooms, and in 2 years you're a rich woman. Rebecca closed the contract. It's the best prenup I've ever seen for the non-wealthy spouse. Then why does it feel like I'm selling my soul? Because you are. Just not in the way you think. Rebecca leaned back. Here's what I know about Dante Moretti. He's dangerous. He's calculating. He's turned his father's criminal empire into something that looks legal from the outside, but there's still blood under the polish. You marry him, you become part of that world. People will hate you. People will try to hurt you to get to him. And when it's over, you'll have 2 years of memories you can't ever talk about. But my mother lives. Your mother lives. Rebecca pushed the contract back across the table. The question isn't whether this is a good deal. It's whether you can live with what it costs. Aria stared at the folder. 50 pages. 2 years. 1 life. What would you do? She asked quietly. Rebecca didn't hesitate. I'd sign, but I'm not you, and I'm not the one who has to look in the mirror afterward. Aria's phone buzzed. A text from a number she didn't recognize. Your mother's surgery has been moved to emergency status. She's being prepped now. Complications with her valve. If you want the hospital paid, I need your answer. DM. Her hands went numb. Rebecca saw her expression. What is it? My mother. Aria stood, the world tilting. I need to. The hospital's 15 minutes from here. I'll drive you. Rebecca was already grabbing her coat. And Aria? Bring the contract. If you're going to do this, do it now, while you're too scared to overthink it. County General's ICU smelled like antiseptic and fear. Aria's mother lay in bed 3, looking smaller than Aria remembered, surrounded by machines that beeped and hummed and kept her alive through sheer mechanical stubbornness. Miss Bennett, a doctor she didn't recognize, approached. Your mother had an acute episode. We've stabilized her, but we need to perform the surgery immediately. Tonight. The valve is failing faster than we anticipated. How long does she have? Without surgery? Hours. Maybe less. The doctor glanced at his chart. But the financial, it's covered. Aria heard herself say the words. Do the surgery, whatever it costs. It's covered. We'll need confirmation. Aria's phone rang. Dante Moretti. She answered. My mother needs surgery now. I know. The hospital will receive payment confirmation in the next 10 minutes. All costs covered, as promised. A pause. Do we have an agreement, Miss Bennett? Aria looked at her mother. At the machines. At the doctor waiting for an answer. 2 years. That's all he wanted. 2 years of her life for a lifetime of her mother's. Yes. The word tasted like ashes. We have an agreement. Rebecca has the contract? Yes. Sign it. Photograph it. Send it to my lawyer. The hospital will be paid immediately. His voice remained steady, businesslike. And Aria? It was the first time he'd used her first name. Welcome to the family. The line went dead. Rebecca had the contract spread on a waiting room table, pen ready. "You're sure?" "No." "Yes." "Then sign." Aria signed her name in 12 places. Her hand didn't shake. She was beyond shaking, beyond fear, beyond everything except the simple mathematics of survival. Rebecca photographed each page, sent them to a number Dante had provided. 30 seconds later, Aria's phone buzzed. "Payment confirmed. Surgery approved. Your mother will be fine. I'll see you tomorrow to discuss next steps. Get some rest." DM. "What happens now?" Aria asked. Rebecca packed up the contract. "Now you wait for the surgery, for your mother to recover, for your new life to begin." She squeezed Aria's shoulder. "And for what it's worth, I think you made the right choice. The only choice, really." "Then why do I feel like I just made the biggest mistake of my life?" "Because you're smart enough to know that every choice costs something. You just decided your mother's life was worth the price." Rebecca headed for the door. "Call me if you need anything, day or night. You're going to need a friend in this world. Might as well start with your lawyer." She left. Aria sat alone in the waiting room while doctors operated on her mother in a surgery she couldn't afford, paid for by a man she'd just promised to marry. 2 years. 730 days. She could survive that. She could survive anything. She had to. The surgery took 6 hours. Aria sat in the same plastic chair, drinking bad coffee and watching the clock. Medical students weren't supposed to fall apart during emergencies. They were supposed to stay calm, stay clinical, stay detached. Aria had never been good at detachment. At 4:47 a.m., Dr. Reeves emerged in surgical scrubs, looking tired but satisfied. "The surgery was successful. We replaced the mitral valve. No complications. She's in recovery now." He pulled off his surgical cap. "I have to say, Miss Bennett, when we moved up her surgery, I didn't think the financial approval would come through. I'm glad it did." "Me too." Aria's voice was hollow. "You can see her in about an hour. She'll be groggy, but stable." He hesitated. The payment that came through, it covered not just this surgery, but all her follow-up care, physical therapy, medications, everything. That's unusual. "I know." "May I ask?" "No." Aria stood. "Thank you, doctor, for saving her life." She walked away before he could ask more questions. Her mother woke up at 6:15 a.m., tubes and wires everywhere, but eyes clear. "Aria? I'm here, Mom." Aria took her hand. "The surgery went well. You're going to be fine. The money, taken care of." "How?" Her mother's grip tightened. "Aria, what did you do?" "What I had to." Aria smoothed her mother's hair back. "Don't worry about it. Just focus on getting better." "Baby." "Mom." Aria's voice broke. "Please, just let me do this. Let me take care of you for once. Please." Her mother searched her face, saw something that made her expression crumble. "Oh, sweetheart, what did you do?" "I made a deal." Aria wiped her eyes. "A good deal. You're alive. That's all that matters." "Nothing's worth—" "You are." Aria kissed her forehead. "You're worth everything. Now rest. I'll be here when you wake up." Her mother's eyes were already closing, pulled under by medication and exhaustion. "Love you." "Love you too." Aria sat there holding her mother's hand while the sun came up over the city, painting everything gold and new, like the world hadn't just fundamentally changed. Her phone buzzed, a text from Dante. "Car will pick you up at noon. We have arrangements to make." DM. She didn't respond, just sat there in the growing light, trying to remember what her life had been like 24 hours ago, before she'd traded it away. At 11:45, a nurse came in. "Miss Bennett, there's a car waiting for you downstairs." Aria kissed her mother's forehead one more time, grabbed her bag, and headed for the elevator. In the lobby, a black Mercedes waited, driver standing by the rear door. He was tall, built like someone who'd done hard time, with eyes that tracked everything. "Miss Bennett, I'm Vincent, Mr. Moretti's head of security." He opened the door. "If you'll come with me." Aria got in. The car pulled away from the hospital, away from her old life, toward whatever waited in the world she'd just agreed to enter. Vincent drove in silence through streets that grew progressively cleaner, buildings progressively taller, until they pulled up to the Belmonte Hotel again. "Mr. Moretti is expecting you." The penthouse elevator. The same journey she'd made the night before, but this time she wasn't a desperate student begging for help. This time, she was the future Mrs. Moretti. The doors opened. Dante stood in the same spot by the windows, like he hadn't moved in 12 hours. Maybe he hadn't. Men like him probably didn't need sleep. "Your mother's surgery was successful." Not a question. He knew. Of course he knew. "Good. Thank you." The words felt strange. Thanking someone for buying you. For paying. "We had an agreement. I keep my agreements." He turned. "We have things to discuss. Sit." This time, Aria sat. Dante remained standing, a position of power she was too tired to challenge. "The announcement will be made in 3 days. Engagement first. We'll say we've been seeing each other privately for 6 months. Wedding in 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Long engagements invite scrutiny. Better to move quickly. Present it as spontaneous, romantic." His tone suggested he found the concept absurd. "You'll move in here tomorrow. I've had a suite prepared, separate from mine. You'll have complete privacy." "What about my apartment?" "Your lease has been paid through the end of the year. Keep it, sell it, sublet it. I don't care. But you'll live here. Appearances matter." Aria's head was spinning. "My classes continue as normal. You're a medical student who happens to be married. Wealthy students attend school. It won't raise questions." He pulled out another folder. "Your schedule for the next 2 weeks. Dress fittings, media training, security briefings. You'll be photographed starting tomorrow. Everything you do, everywhere you go, will be documented." "I didn't agree to be a prisoner." "You agreed to be my wife. This is what that means." His voice didn't rise, didn't need to. "Your safety is my responsibility. You go nowhere without security. You speak to no press without approval. You maintain the image we're building. That's the contract." "The contract said I attend events and play the part. It didn't say I give up my entire life. Your life is the part now." Dante moved closer. "Understand this, Aria. There are people who would hurt you to hurt me. Kill you to send me a message. You are a vulnerability I'm choosing to take on because the benefits outweigh the risks. But only if you follow the rules, only if you stay safe. Otherwise, this arrangement ends, and your mother's medical coverage ends with it." The threat was implicit but clear. Aria stood, anger finally breaking through the shock. "You said this was a business arrangement, professional. Now you're threatening me? I'm explaining reality." He didn't back up, didn't give her space. "You wanted to know the catch. This is it. You're no longer just Aria Bennett, broke medical student. You're Aria Moretti, Mafia wife. That comes with protection and privilege. It also comes with restrictions. If you can't handle that, tell me now. I'll pay your mother's current medical bills and walk away. But once we announce this engagement, there's no backing out. You're in this for 2 years, or you're out completely." "I don't have a choice." "You always have a choice. You just don't like the options." He stepped back. "Go home. Pack what matters. Be back here by tomorrow evening. We have a lot of work to do and not much time to do it." Aria grabbed her bag, headed for the elevator. She was almost there when his voice stopped her again. "Aria." She turned. For just a moment, something human flickered in his expression. "I know this isn't what you wanted. If there was another way, I'd tell you. But there isn't. So make peace with your choice and let's make the best of the next 2 years." He paused. "Your mother is alive. Hold on to that." The elevator doors closed on his face. Aria rode down 40 floors and stepped out into a world that looked the same, but felt completely different. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus, where are you?" "You missed pharmacology. Dr. Kim is pissed." She stared at the message. "Missed class. 24 hours ago, that would have been a crisis. Now it barely registered." She typed back, "Family emergency. I'll catch up." Another buzz. "Everything okay?" She almost laughed. Nothing was okay. Nothing would ever be okay again. "Fine, talk later." She silenced her phone and started walking. The city was alive with midday traffic, people rushing to jobs and lives and problems that could be solved with normal solutions. Aria moved through them like a ghost, already separate, already other. At a corner coffee shop, she stopped, bought a black coffee she didn't want, sat by the window and watched people pass. In 2 weeks, she would marry Dante Moretti. In 2 weeks, she would become someone else. In 2 weeks, Her life as Aria Bennett would effectively end. But her mother would live. She pulled out her phone, looked at the last message her mother had sent her 3 days ago, before the emergency, before everything fell apart. "So proud of you, baby. You're going to change the world." Aria closed her eyes. Maybe she would, just not in the way either of them had imagined. The apartment looked smaller when she got home, dingier. The cracked ceiling she'd stopped noticing seemed glaring now. The radiator that barely worked, the windows that didn't quite close, the neighbors who fought at 2 a.m., all of it suddenly intolerable. This was her life, had been her life. In 24 hours, it would be her past. She started packing, clothes first. Most of them were secondhand, bought from thrift stores or borrowed from friends. She'd need new ones anyway. Dante had mentioned stylists. Of course he had. Books next, textbooks, novels, the collection of poetry her mother had given her for graduation. Those came with her. Those mattered. Photos. Her father, before he left. Her mother, healthy and smiling at Aria's high school graduation. The two of them at Aria's college acceptance, standing in front of the university sign like they'd conquered something. They had, she supposed, just not permanently. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Miss Bennett, this is Catherine Walsh. I'm Mr. Moretti's personal stylist. I'll be at your residence in 1 hour to begin preliminary wardrobe consultation." "I'm sorry, what?" "You'll need appropriate clothing for tomorrow's events. Mr. Moretti indicated you would require a complete wardrobe. I'm here to facilitate that." Catherine's tone suggested this was completely normal. "Please be ready for measurements and initial style assessment." "I didn't agree to—" "Mr. Moretti handles all details. You simply need to cooperate. I'll see you in 1 hour." The line went dead. Aria stared at her phone. This was her life now. People calling, telling her what to do, how to dress, where to be. She'd sold herself for her mother's life. She'd known that, but knowing it and living it were different things. The knock came exactly 1 hour later. Catherine Walsh turned out to be a woman in her 50s with silver hair, sharp eyes, and a tape measure around her neck like a weapon. "Miss Bennett." She walked in without waiting for invitation, assessing the apartment with one sweeping glance. "We have work to do." Arms up. "Excuse me?" "Measurements. Unless you plan to attend tomorrow's events naked, which would certainly make headlines, but not the kind we're aiming for." Catherine pulled out the tape measure. "Arms up, please." Aria raised her arms. For the next 90 minutes, she was measured, photographed from every angle, questioned about her style preferences, she didn't have any, her comfort level with various levels of formality, low, and her shoe size, 7.5. "You're thin." Catherine made notes on her tablet. "That's workable. Height is good. Bone structure is excellent. Your hair needs professional attention. Color, cut, styling. Skin is acceptable but would benefit from a proper routine. Overall, you're a solid foundation." "I'm not a building. In this world, you're exactly that. A structure Mr. Moretti is building an image around. My job is to make sure that image is polished, appropriate, and sends the right message." Catherine snapped her tablet closed. "Clothing will be delivered tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. You'll have a selection to choose from for various occasions. After the announcement, we'll do a full wardrobe build. 6 a.m.? You have a dress fitting at 8, hair and makeup at 10, media training at noon, security briefing at 2, and dinner with Mr. Moretti at 7 to review protocols. Your day starts early. Get used to it." Catherine headed for the door. "And Miss Bennett, whatever life you had before, let it go. The woman you're becoming has no use for it." She left. Aria stood in her apartment, her old life, and felt the walls closing in. Her phone buzzed. A calendar invitation. From Dante's assistant. Every hour of tomorrow accounted for, color-coded with reminders. 6 a.m. Wardrobe delivery. 8 a.m. Dress fitting, Belmonte Hotel, Suite 4012. 10 a.m. Hair/makeup consultation, Belmonte Hotel, spa level. 12 p.m. Media training, Belmonte Hotel, conference room B. 2 p.m. Security briefing, Belmonte Hotel, penthouse. 7 p.m. Dinner with DM, Belmonte Hotel, private dining room. Every single appointment at the Belmonte. Her new home, her new prison. She accepted the invitation. What choice did she have? At 11 p.m., her phone rang again. This time, she recognized the number. Dante? Are you settling in? His voice was the same controlled tone, like they'd been married for years instead of having signed a contract yesterday. Is that what you call it? I call it preparation. Tomorrow begins the public phase of our arrangement. The media will be hungry for details. We need our story straight. Our story? We met 6 months ago at a charity gala. You were there as a volunteer medical student. I was there as a donor. We connected over a shared interest in cardiac research. We've been seeing each other privately since then. I proposed last week. You said yes. Simple. Believable. Romantic enough to sell. That's not what happened. That's exactly what happened, as far as anyone else is concerned. You understand the difference between truth and story, don't you, Aria? She closed her eyes. Yes. Good. Memorize it. Believe it when you tell it. The best lies are the ones we tell ourselves first. He paused. Get some sleep. Tomorrow will be difficult. The day after will be worse. But you'll adapt. People like us always do. People like us? Survivors. He hung up. Aria sat in the dark of her apartment, listening to sirens in the distance and her neighbors fighting through the walls. Survivors. Maybe he was right. Maybe that's all they were. Maybe that's all they'd ever be. She went to bed in her old life one last time, knowing that when she woke up, everything would be different. And somewhere across the city, in a penthouse 40 stories up, Dante Moretti stood by the window looking out over his kingdom, preparing to add one more piece to his carefully constructed empire. A wife. A partner. A beautiful lie told to a world that would believe it because it wanted to. In 2 weeks, they would marry. In 2 years, they would divorce. Between now and then, they would survive. That was the deal. That was the price. That was the only truth that mattered. The wardrobe boxes arrived at 5:47 a.m., 13 minutes early. Aria knew because she'd been awake since 4, staring at the ceiling and trying to remember how to breathe normally. 3 men in matching black polo shirts carried in garment bags and shoe boxes like they were moving furniture, efficient and silent. They didn't make eye contact, didn't ask questions, just filled her small living room with more clothing than she'd owned in her entire life and left. The note pinned to the first garment bag was handwritten on heavy cardstock. For today's fitting, the navy dress. Shoes marked 1A. Jewelry will be provided. Be ready by 7:30. Vincent will collect you. C.W. Aria unzipped the bag. The dress inside was simple, elegant, probably cost more than 3 months of her rent. She touched the fabric, silk, real silk, and felt her stomach turn. This was real. This was actually happening. Her phone buzzed. A text from the hospital. Her mother was awake, asking for her. Aria called. A nurse answered, then her mother's voice came through, stronger than yesterday but still weak. Aria, where are you? Home. I had to take care of some things. The lie came easier than it should have. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck, but alive. A pause. The doctor said everything's paid for. All of it. He seemed surprised. Don't worry about it, Mom. That's what worries me. Baby, what did you do? Aria looked at the dress hanging in her apartment, at the life she was about to step into. I found a solution. That's all. Just focus on getting better. Aria, I have to go. I'll visit tomorrow. I love you. She hung up before her mother could press harder. At 7:30 exactly, her buzzer rang. Vincent's voice came through the intercom, professional and clipped. Miss Bennett, we should leave now to stay on schedule. Aria grabbed her bag and headed downstairs. The Mercedes was parked illegally in front of her building, hazards on. Vincent opened the door without a word. She got in. The drive to the Belmonte took 12 minutes. Vincent didn't speak, didn't look at her in the rearview mirror, just drove with the focused attention of someone whose job was to notice everything and react to nothing. Can I ask you something? Aria finally broke the silence. Vincent's eyes flicked to the mirror. You can ask. How long have you worked for Dante? 8 years. Do you like it? A pause. Mr. Moretti is a fair employer. He values loyalty, rewards competence, protects his people. Vincent pulled into the Belmonte's private garage. That's more than most can say in this business. What business is that, exactly? Vincent put the car in park, turned to look at her directly. Survival, Miss Bennett. Same as you. Same as everyone. He got out, opened her door. The difference is, Mr. Moretti's better at it than most. The private elevator took them up, different from the lobby one she'd used before. This one required a key card, had no buttons, just went straight to the floors Dante controlled. Catherine Walsh was waiting in suite 4012, along with 2 assistants and enough mirrors to make Aria feel like she was surrounded by her own anxiety. You're on time. Good. Catherine gestured to a changing screen. Put on the dress. Leave your clothes folded. We'll need to see how it moves. Aria changed in silence. The dress fit perfectly. Of course it did after yesterday's measurements. But wearing it felt like putting on a costume. Someone else's skin. She stepped out. Catherine circled her like a predator assessing prey. The hemline is correct. The fit through the shoulders needs minor adjustment. Maria, mark it. One of the assistants moved in with pins. Turn. Aria turned. Your posture needs work. You stand like a student. Shoulders back, chin up. You're marrying one of the most powerful men in the city. Act like it. I am a student. Not anymore. Catherine's voice was sharp. You're Aria Moretti now, or you will be in 2 weeks. Start believing it or no one else will. The fitting took 90 minutes. 3 different dresses, 2 pairs of shoes, adjustments marked and noted. Catherine photographed everything, made notes on her tablet, dismissed Aria with instructions to be at the spa level by 10 o'clock. Don't be late. Marco doesn't wait for anyone, and if Mr. Moretti wants you camera ready by this afternoon, we're already behind schedule. Aria wanted to argue, wanted to say this was moving too fast, that she needed time to process, to adjust, to figure out who the hell she was supposed to be. Instead, she said, I'll be there. The spa level of the Belmonte was all white marble and soft lighting, designed to make you forget the outside world existed. Aria sat in a chair while Marco, a man in his 40s with silver-streaked hair and an accent she couldn't place, studied her like she was a problem to solve. The color is wrong. He touched her hair without asking permission. Too flat. And this cut, it does nothing for your face. We'll add dimension. Bring out the natural warmth, and the length, we'll keep it, but add shape, movement. I liked my hair. Marco looked at her in the mirror. Your hair was fine for a student working in a lab. It's not fine for a woman who will be photographed next to Dante Moretti. Do you understand the difference? Aria met his eyes. I understand I'm being turned into someone I'm not. No, you're being turned into the best version of who you are. There's a difference. He spun the chair away from the mirror. Trust me, or don't. Either way, I'm doing my job. 4 hours later, when he spun her back around, Aria barely recognized herself. Her hair was still brown, but richer somehow. Layers she didn't know she could have framed her face. It moved when she moved, caught light differently. She looked older, more polished, more like someone who belonged in Dante's world. Better, Marco said with satisfaction. Much better. Now makeup. Sophia will handle your skin. Listen to what she tells you. You'll need to maintain this. Sophia turned out to be a woman who spoke in technical terms about undertones and primer and setting spray. Aria stopped trying to follow after the first 10 minutes and just let it happen. When Sophia finished, Aria looked like a stranger wearing her face. You photograph well, Sophia said, taking pictures with a professional camera. Good bone structure. The camera will love you. Just remember, less is more in person, more is more on camera. I'll send you home with products and a routine. Use them. By the time Aria made it to the media training session, she was exhausted, and it wasn't even noon. The trainer was a woman named Patricia who'd worked in political campaigns and corporate PR. She had Aria sit across from her in a conference room that felt more like an interrogation chamber. You're going to be asked questions, personal questions, invasive questions, questions designed to make you slip up or say something quotable. Patricia opened a folder. Let's practice. How did you and Mr. Moretti meet? Aria recited the script. At a charity gala 6 months ago, I was volunteering. He was a donor. We connected over cardiac research. Cardiac research? That's your opening line? Patricia shook her head. Too technical. Try. We met at a charity event. He asked about my work. I asked about his foundation. We talked for hours. It was unexpected. That sounds fake. That sounds romantic. There's a difference. Again, they ran through it 20 times. Different variations. Different questions. What do you love about him? What's the wedding like? How does it feel to marry into his family? Are you worried about his reputation? How do your friends feel about this? By the end, Aria could recite the answers in her sleep. They were smooth, believable, completely empty. Better. Patricia made notes. You're a quick study. That'll help. Remember, smile, but not too much. Be warm, but not gushing. You're in love, but you're also intelligent, capable, not some starry-eyed girl who got swept away. You're a medical student who happens to be marrying a powerful man. That's the narrative. What if someone asks about his business? You know nothing about his business. You're focused on your studies and your relationship. Anything else, you defer to him. Dante handles all of that. I'm just proud of what he's built. Simple, clean, non-committal. What if they ask about his father, the criminal stuff? Patricia's expression didn't change. You know nothing about that either. I'm marrying Dante, not his family history. We're focused on our future together. Move on, don't engage. These people will try to bait you. Don't take it. The security briefing at 2 p.m. was run by Vincent and another man introduced only as Carter. They walked Aria through protocols that sounded like something from a spy movie. You don't go anywhere alone. Ever. Vincent's tone was matter-of-fact. Grocery store, coffee shop, campus. Someone is with you. You might not see them, but they're there. I'm not a prisoner. You're a target. Carter pulled up photos on a laptop. These are people who have reason to hurt Mr. Moretti. Rival organizations, old enemies, prosecutors building cases. Your leverage, your vulnerability. Some of them won't hesitate to use that. The photos showed men with dead eyes and rap sheets longer than Aria's CV. She felt sick. We're not trying to scare you, Vincent said, though his tone suggested otherwise. We're trying to keep you alive. Follow the protocols. Trust your security detail. Don't try to lose them or prove you don't need protection. People who do that end up dead. Has anyone ever... Yes. Carter closed the laptop. Mr. Moretti's father's wife, 10 years ago, she thought she could slip her security to go shopping. They found her 3 days later. By the time we got there, it was too late. Aria's mouth went dry. Vincent leaned forward. We're very good at our jobs, Miss Bennett, but we can't protect you if you fight us. So don't. Your life is worth more than your independence. Remember that. They spent another hour going over emergency procedures, safe locations, communication protocols. By the end, Aria felt like she was preparing for war, not a wedding. She had 2 hours before dinner with Dante. Catherine had left another garment bag in the suite she was apparently moving into, a space 3 times the size of her apartment, with views of the city and furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. The evening dress was emerald green, fitted, elegant. Aria put it on and stared at herself in the floor-length mirror. This woman looked confident, composed, like she knew exactly what she was doing. The woman inside the dress was terrified. At 6:55 p.m., there was a knock on her door. She opened it to find Dante in a dark suit, looking like he'd stepped out of a magazine spread on powerful men doing powerful things. You look good. He said it like he was commenting on the weather. Catherine did well. Thanks, I think. It's a compliment. Take it. He offered his arm. Shall we? The private dining room was all dark wood and low lighting, intimate in a way that felt calculated. A table for 2, already set with wine and water, menus Aria suspected were just for show. Dante held out her chair. She sat. He took the seat across from her, and for a moment they just looked at each other across expensive china and crystal glasses. How was today? He asked. Exhausting, invasive, terrifying. Aria reached for her water. Your security team showed me photos of people who want to kill you. That was fun. They're being thorough. That's their job. Do you always live like this? Looking over your shoulder? Dante poured wine into both their glasses without asking if she wanted any. I've lived like this since I was 16. You get used to it. I don't want to get used to it. Then you shouldn't have signed the contract. He raised his glass. But you did. So here we are. A waiter appeared with their first course, something that looked artistic and probably tasted expensive. Aria wasn't hungry, but she picked up her fork anyway. The announcement goes out tomorrow, Dante said. By noon, everyone will know. Your phone will explode. Reporters will show up at your apartment, your school, the hospital. That's why you're moving in here tonight. Vincent will have your things packed and brought over. I didn't agree to that. You agreed to this marriage. Everything else is logistics. He ate with the precise movements of someone who'd been trained in etiquette from birth. Your mother will be transferred to a private facility tomorrow. Better care, better security. She'll be safe there. Aria's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. You're moving my mother? I'm protecting her, same as you. Once our engagement is public, she becomes a target too. The private facility has 24-hour security, the best cardiac specialists in the country. She'll recover faster there. You can't just... I can. I did. It's done. Dante's voice remained level. You can visit her any time, bring anything she needs, but she's safer there than at County General, and we both know it. Aria set down her fork. I need you to stop making decisions about my life without asking me first. That's not how this works. Then how does it work, Dante? Because right now it feels like I signed away every choice I had. You signed away 2 years. During those 2 years, your safety and your mother's safety are my responsibility. I take my responsibilities seriously. He met her eyes. If that bothers you, I'm sorry. But I'm not changing the arrangement. You're not sorry. No. A ghost of a smile. I'm not. But it sounded polite. Aria wanted to throw her wine in his face, wanted to walk out, wanted to scream that this wasn't what she agreed to, that she was a person, not a chess piece, that he couldn't just move her around like she didn't have a say. But she'd signed the contract. She'd taken his money. Her mother was alive because of him. So instead, she drank her wine and said nothing. Tell me about medical school, Dante said after a moment, like they were on a normal date having normal conversation. Why? Because if we're going to convince people we're in love, I should probably know something about your life beyond what's in the background check. You ran a background check on me. Of course I did. You think I'd marry someone without knowing everything about them? He refilled her wine glass. You're second in your class. Published 2 papers as an undergrad. Worked 3 jobs to pay for school. Your father left when you were 17. Your mother has been your only family since then. You have one close friend, Marcus Chen, who you study with every Thursday. You like old movies, hate cooking, and run 4 miles every morning when you can't sleep. Aria felt violated. You had no right. I had every right. You're going to be my wife. I don't take risks on unknowns. He leaned back. Now, tell me something that's not in the file, something real. Why should I? Because I asked, because we're going to spend the next 2 years pretending to care about each other. Might as well have some truth to build the lies on. Aria stared at him, at this man who'd bought her, controlled her, rearranged her entire life in less than 48 hours. This stranger she was going to marry. I wanted to be a surgeon, she said finally, cardiothoracic, like the one who saved my mom. I wanted to be the person who could fix the impossible, give people more time with the ones they love. She took another drink. Now I'm marrying a criminal to pay for my mother's surgery. Funny how things work out. I'm not a criminal. Your father was. My father's dead. Something cold flashed in Dante's eyes. I'm not him. I've spent 5 years making sure of that. But you still use fear, still use violence when you need to. Vincent told me about your father's wife, about what happened when security failed. That won't happen to you. How can you promise that? Because I learned from other people's mistakes. Dante pushed his plate away. My father was careless, arrogant. He thought power alone was enough to protect the people he claimed to care about. It wasn't. I won't make the same error. Do you care about me? The question hung between them. Dante was quiet for a long moment. I care about keeping my agreements. I care about protecting my assets. I care about maintaining order. He stood. Whether that translates to caring about you personally? Ask me again in 2 years. He walked to the window, hands in his pockets, staring out at the city below. Aria watched him, trying to figure out what kind of man could be so honest about his own emotional distance. My father wanted me to be like him, Dante said without turning around. Brutal, uncompromising, willing to burn everything to maintain control. When I was 20, he made me watch while he killed a man who'd stolen from him, put a gun in my hand and told me to finish it. Aria's breath caught. I couldn't. He beat me unconscious for the weakness. Dante's reflection in the window was expressionless. When I woke up, he told me I'd never be strong enough to lead. That compassion was cancer in this world, that the only way to survive was to cut out anything soft and keep what was hard. What did you do? I proved him wrong. Took over the business when he had his first heart attack, restructured everything, made us legitimate or close enough. And when he recovered and tried to take it back, Dante finally turned. I put him in a home and took control of his assets. Legal, clean, irreversible. He died 6 months later, hating me for not being the monster he wanted. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was a terrible man who built an empire on suffering. I'm just trying to make sure that empire doesn't crumble while I figure out what else it could be. He moved back to the table. That's why I need this marriage. Need you. The board still has loyalists to my father. Men who think my methods are weak. A wife, a respectable wife, sends a message that I'm building something that lasts. Something legitimate. So I'm a prop in your business restructuring. You're a partner in a mutually beneficial arrangement. I thought we were clear on that. Aria stood. We were. We are. I just needed to hear you say it again. Needed to remember that this isn't real. That you don't care about me. That in 2 years I'm walking away and you're going to forget I existed. I never forget anyone. Dante moved closer. That's how I stay alive. They stood there, too close, the air between them charged with something Aria couldn't name. Anger, maybe. Or recognition. Two people who'd both sold pieces of themselves to survive. I should go, she said. It's been a long day. Your suite is ready. Vincent already moved your things. Of course he did. Dante walked her to the door. Tomorrow's going to be difficult. The media storm will be intense. Stay close to security. Don't answer questions you haven't been prepped for. And Aria? She turned. Try to smile in the photos. We're supposed to be in love. She left without responding. Her new suite was exactly as she'd seen it before. Enormous, beautiful, empty. Her few possessions looked lost in it. Boxes of books, her laptop, the photos that mattered. Everything else was new, provided, bought. She changed into her own pajamas, one of the few things she'd insisted on keeping, and sat on the bed that was too big, too soft, too much. Her phone had 17 missed calls. Marcus. 3 of her classmates. 2 numbers she didn't recognize. She ignored them all and called the hospital. How's my mom? The nurse sounded surprised. Miss Bennett, your mother was transferred this afternoon to Westbridge Medical Center. Didn't anyone tell you? Westbridge, the private facility Dante had mentioned. He'd already done it, already moved her without asking. Right, yes. Thank you. She hung up and called Westbridge. After being transferred twice, she got through to her mother's room. Aria? Her mother's voice was stronger. Where are you? What's happening? They moved me to this place. It's beautiful, but I don't understand. It's a better facility, Mom. Better care. You'll recover faster there. How are we paying for this? The question Aria had been dreading. I told you, I found a solution. Baby, what kind of solution costs this much money? Aria closed her eyes. She could lie, could keep pretending a little longer, but her mother deserved better than that. I'm getting married. Silence on the other end. Married? To who? You're not even dating anyone. His name is Dante Moretti. We met a while ago. It's been private, but it's real. And he wants to help. With your medical bills. With everything. Moretti? Her mother's voice sharpened. Aria, tell me you're not talking about the Moretti family. Please tell me you're not. Mom, I know that name. Everyone knows that name. His father was... Aria, what did you do? What I had to save your life. Not like this. Not by selling yourself to... He's not his father. Dante's different. He's legitimate now. Businesses, real estate, it's all legal. Legal doesn't mean safe. Legal doesn't mean good. Her mother's voice cracked. How much did he pay you? How much is 2 years of your life worth? Aria's throat tightened. Enough to save yours, that's all that matters. It matters that you're throwing away your future for me. You are my future. You're all I have. I'm not going to apologize for keeping you alive. Her mother was crying now. Aria could hear it, feel it through the phone like a physical thing. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry you had to do this. Don't be sorry. Be alive. Get better. That's all I need from you." They talked for another few minutes, her mother asking questions Aria couldn't fully answer, Aria reassuring her that everything would be fine, even though neither of them believed it. When she finally hung up, Aria sat in the dark of her expensive new bedroom and let herself cry for the first time since this all started. She cried for the life she'd lost, for the choices she'd never get back, for the mother who'd raised her to be strong and independent, now watching her daughter marry a stranger for money. She cried until there was nothing left, and then she washed her face and looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. The woman looking back had perfect hair and perfect skin and a perfect new wardrobe. She looked like someone who had everything figured out. She looked like a liar. Aria's phone buzzed. A text from Dante. "Announcement goes live at noon. Be ready. And get some sleep. You'll need it." She didn't respond. Just turned off the lights and lay in the too big bed, staring at the ceiling of her golden cage, counting down the hours until her old life officially ended and her new one began. Somewhere in the same building, 40 floors up, Dante stood at his window doing the same thing. Two people bound by a contract and separated by everything else. In 12 hours, the world would know. In 2 weeks, they'd be married. In 2 years, they'd walk away. That was the plan. That was the deal. Neither of them knew yet how badly it would all fall apart, but they'd find out soon enough. The announcement hit at 12 p.m. exactly. Aria was in her constitutional law class when phones started buzzing. First one, then 5, then the whole room lighting up like a fireworks display. She felt everyone's eyes turn to her. Professor Williams stopped mid-sentence. "Miss Bennett? Is everything all right?" Aria's phone was face down on her desk. She didn't need to look at it to know what was happening. Dante's PR team had released the statement, photos, the carefully crafted story, everything. "I need to be excused," she said quietly. She grabbed her bag and walked out while whispers followed her down the hall. In the bathroom, she finally looked at her phone. 43 texts, 27 missed calls. Her social media had exploded. The article was everywhere. Moretti heir to marry medical student in surprise engagement. Photos of her and Dante that had been taken. When? She didn't remember posing for them, but there they were, looking at each other with expressions that could pass for love if you didn't look too close. The article was exactly what Dante's PR team had promised. Romantic, aspirational, the powerful businessman and the brilliant student who found each other against all odds. It made her want to vomit. Marcus found her 20 minutes later, still hiding in the bathroom. "Aria, we need to talk." She opened the stall door. "I can explain. You're marrying Dante Moretti." The Dante Moretti. Marcus looked like he'd been slapped. "When were you going to tell me, or were you just going to show up married one day and hope I didn't notice?" "It happened fast." "Relationships don't happen that fast, not real ones." He stepped closer. "What's really going on? Are you in trouble? Did he threaten you?" "No, Marcus, it's not, because if he's forcing you..." "He's not forcing me. I chose this." The lie came smoother now. "I love him. We've been seeing each other for months. I kept it private because I knew people would judge." Marcus studied her face. "You're lying." "I'm not." "You're terrible at lying, always have been." He pulled out his phone, showed her the article. "This doesn't sound like you. This whole thing doesn't sound like you. People change. Not this much. Not this fast." His expression softened. "Aria, whatever you got yourself into, let me help. There's always another way." "There isn't. Not this time." She met his eyes. "My mom needed surgery. I couldn't afford it. Dante helped, that's all." Understanding dawned on Marcus's face. "Oh no, Aria, no. Tell me you didn't." "I did what I had to do. Same as always." "This isn't the same. This is... You sold yourself." "I made a deal. 2 years. Then I'm free and my mom is alive. That's worth it." "Is it? Is it really worth marrying someone you don't love? Someone dangerous?" "He's not dangerous, not to me." "You don't know that." "I know enough." Aria grabbed her bag. "I have to go. Security is probably looking for me." "Security? Aria, listen to yourself. You're talking like someone who made a choice and has to live with it." "That's all any of us do, Marcus." "I just made mine bigger than most." She walked out before he could argue more. Vincent was waiting in the hallway, expression neutral. "Miss Bennett, we should return to the Belmonte. The media has arrived at your apartment. Campus security is handling them, but we need to get you somewhere secure. Aria followed him to the car without protest. The next 2 weeks blurred together in a chaos of preparation and performance. Dress fittings, cake tastings, seating charts for a wedding that was more political summit than celebration, meeting Dante's business associates, smiling and playing the devoted fiancé while men who'd made their fortunes on violence and extortion kissed her hand and welcomed her to the family. She moved through it all like she was watching herself from outside her body. The real Aria was still somewhere else, still the broke student with big dreams and bigger debts. This woman in designer clothes attending charity galas and posing for photographers, she was just playing a role. But the longer she played it, the harder it became to remember where the role ended, and she began. The wedding was scheduled for a Saturday in early November, and Aria discovered that when you married a man like Dante Moretti, nothing was small, nothing was private, nothing was yours. The ceremony would take place at the Cathedral of St. Sebastian, a building that looked like it had been transplanted from Europe, all Gothic arches and stained glass that threw colored light across marble floors. 300 guests, a reception at the Grand Hall that cost more per plate than most people made in a month. Photographers from every major publication in the city. Aria stood in the bridal suite the morning of the wedding, staring at herself in a dress that cost 6 figures and felt like a straitjacket made of silk and lace. "You look beautiful." Catherine was behind her, making final adjustments. "Absolutely perfect." Perfect. That word again. Aria was so sick of it she could taste it. Her mother sat in a wheelchair near the window, recovering well but still weak. She'd been released from Westbridge for the day, against her doctor's recommendations because Aria had insisted. If she was going to sell her soul, her mother was going to witness it. "Mom." Aria turned. "Can we have a minute?" Catherine and her assistants filed out without a word. The silence that followed felt heavier than the dress. "You don't have to do this," her mother said quietly. "Even now, even here, you can still walk away." "And go where? Back to being broke? Back to watching you die because I couldn't save you?" Aria sat down carefully, the dress pooling around her like a white ocean. "This is done, Mom. It's been done since I signed the contract. A contract isn't a life sentence. In this world, it is." Aria reached for her mother's hand. "I need you to be okay with this. I need you to stop looking at me like I'm making the worst mistake of my life." "Aren't you?" "Maybe, probably. But it's my mistake to make." She squeezed her mother's fingers. "And in 2 years, when this is over and you're healthy and I'm debt-free and we can actually have a life, you'll understand why I did it." Her mother's eyes filled. "I already understand. I just wish you didn't have to." "Well, I do, so let's make the best of it." Aria wiped her own eyes carefully, mindful of the makeup Sophia had spent 2 hours applying. "Now tell me I look beautiful and that you're proud of me, even if you have to lie." Her mother laughed through tears. "You look beautiful, and I'm always proud of you, even when you're being stubborn and reckless and throwing your life away for mine. Especially then." There was a knock. Catherine's voice through the door. "Miss Bennett, we're ready for you." Aria stood. The dress weighed 1,000 pounds. Or maybe that was just everything else. Her mother wheeled closer, reached up to touch Aria's face. "Whatever happens in there, whatever you have to do to survive this, remember who you are. Don't let him take that from you." "I won't. Promise me." "I promise." Another knock, more insistent. Aria took a breath, fixed her smile, and opened the door to find Catherine waiting with a veil that looked like it cost more than a car. "It's time." The cathedral was packed. Aria could see them all from the back entrance, 300 strangers dressed like they were attending a coronation, not a wedding. Dante's business associates, politicians, people whose names appeared in Forbes and on wanted lists, sometimes simultaneously. Marcus was there, in the 3rd row, looking miserable. He'd tried one last time to talk her out of it yesterday. She'd told him to stop coming or stop complaining. He'd chosen to come. Vincent appeared at her side. "Mr. Moretti asked me to check on you. Tell him I'm ready. He also wanted me to give you this." Vincent handed her a small box. Inside was a bracelet, white gold, simple, with a single diamond catch, expensive but not showy. The note read, "Something of yours." Not borrowed, not blue, just yours. D. Aria stared at it. In 2 weeks of planning, Dante had been present but distant, attended meetings, made decisions, but never asked what she wanted, never seemed to care about the details as long as they served his purpose. And now this. A gift. Something personal. She put it on. The music started. Wagner, because apparently irony was dead and so was subtlety. Aria walked down the aisle alone. She'd refused to have anyone give her away. She wasn't property being transferred, no matter what the contract said. Every step echoed in the cavernous space. Every eye tracked her movement. And at the end of it all, Dante waited in a tuxedo that made him look like he'd been carved from marble and money. He watched her approach with an expression she couldn't read. Not quite cold, not quite warm, just focused, like she was a problem he was solving in real time. She reached the altar, took his offered hand. His grip was firm, steady. The priest began speaking in Latin. Aria had no idea what he was saying. Didn't care. This wasn't about faith or tradition or any of the things weddings were supposed to represent. This was business. But when Dante said his vows, looking directly at her in a voice that carried through the cathedral, something in her chest twisted. I, Dante Moretti, take you, Aria Bennett, to be my wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, until death do us part. The words were standard. He'd probably said them before in practice, perfecting the delivery. But hearing them out loud, in front of 300 witnesses, made them feel almost real. Then it was her turn. Aria's voice didn't shake. She'd practiced too much for that. I, Aria Bennett, take you, Dante Moretti, to be my husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish until death do us part. Lies. Every word. Beautiful, polished, necessary lies. The priest pronounced them married. Dante lifted her veil, leaned in for the kiss that would seal it all. His lips touched hers, brief, chaste, nothing like the passionate embrace the crowd probably expected. But his hand on her waist tightened for just a second, and when he pulled back, something flickered in his eyes that looked almost like regret. Then it was gone, and he was turning her toward the crowd, and they were walking back down the aisle as Mr. and Mrs. Moretti while everyone applauded their perfect performance. The reception was exactly as miserable as Aria had anticipated. She smiled until her face hurt, shook hands with people whose names she immediately forgot, made small talk about their future, their plans, how lucky they were to have found each other. Dante stayed close, played his part flawlessly. The attentive husband, the man in love. His hand never left her waist or her back, a constant presence that was somehow both reassuring and suffocating. During their first dance, he pulled her close enough to whisper, "You're doing well. Everyone believes it. That's what you're paying me for. True, but you're exceeding expectations." He spun her smoothly. "How's your mother?" "Tired. Happy I'm happy. Lying as well as I am. It's a family talent, apparently." Aria looked up at him. This close, she could see the fine lines around his eyes, the small scar above his left eyebrow. Details you missed from a distance. "Do you ever tell the truth about anything?" "I'm telling it now. You look beautiful. You're playing your role perfectly, and I'm grateful you're here." "Grateful enough to let me skip the rest of this circus?" "Not even close." But he smiled slightly. 2 more hours. Then we can leave for the hotel. The hotel. Our wedding night. People expect us to disappear for a romantic evening. We have a suite at the Windsor. Separate bedrooms, obviously, but we need to maintain appearances. Of course, even their wedding night was performance. The cake cutting was a photo opportunity. The toasts were political theater, Dante's business partners praising his vision, his success, his beautiful bride. No one mentioned his father. No one mentioned the empire built on broken bones and broken laws. Aria drank too much champagne and smiled too much, and by the time they were finally allowed to leave, she felt like she'd run a marathon in heels and a corset. The car ride to the Windsor was silent. Dante checked his phone. Aria stared out the window at a city that looked different now that she was technically one of its queens. The suite was ridiculous. Presidential, probably. All luxury and excess and 2 bedrooms on opposite sides of a living area bigger than her old apartment. Dante loosened his tie as soon as the door closed. You can relax now. No cameras here. Aria kicked off her shoes. Her feet screamed in relief. How do you do this? The constant performance? The never being alone? Practice and necessity. He poured himself a drink from the bar. Want one? Yes. He made her something dark and strong. She drank half of it in one swallow. Easy. That's $200 scotch. Then you shouldn't have married someone who drinks like a student. She finished the glass, set it down harder than necessary. I survived your wedding. What's next? Do I get a break, or is there another event I need to smile through? Honeymoon. We leave for Italy tomorrow afternoon. Aria actually laughed. Of course, because nothing says authentic relationship like a fake honeymoon. It's expected. My mother's family is from Sicily. We'll spend a week there, be seen at the right places, take the right photos. Then we come back and settle into normal married life. There's nothing normal about any of this. You'll adjust. Dante refilled his own glass. Most people do. Is that what happened to you? You adjusted to being your father's son, to running his empire, to becoming someone you probably never wanted to be? His expression hardened. You don't know anything about what I wanted. Then tell me. Aria moved closer. The champagne and scotch were making her brave or stupid, possibly both. Tell me who you actually are under all this control and calculation. Tell me something real. Why? Because I just married you. Because for the next 2 years, you're the only constant in my life. Because I'm tired of pretending with you when we both know this is all a transaction. She gestured at the suite, at the wedding dress she was still wearing, at everything. Give me something true, just once. Dante studied her for a long moment. Then he walked to the window, looked out at the city spread below them. When I was 8, my father took me to watch him collect a debt. The man couldn't pay. Had a family, 3 kids, begged for more time. His voice was flat, emotionless. My father shot him in the leg, made me watch, then told me that mercy was weakness, and weak men didn't survive in our world. Aria's stomach turned. When I was 15, he made me come to a meeting where one of his lieutenants had been caught skimming money. They tied the man to a chair, beat him for hours. My father handed me a baseball bat and told me to finish it. Dante took a drink. I couldn't. I froze. So he did it himself, then beat me unconscious for being soft. Dante, you wanted something real. This is real. This is who I come from. This is the world I grew up in. He turned to face her. I'm not a good man, Aria. I'm just better than my father. And some days that bar is so low I can't believe it counts for anything. The silence stretched between them. Why did you really marry me? Aria asked quietly. The truth, not the business reason, not the legitimacy story. Why me? Because you remind me there's still something in this world worth protecting. He moved closer. You walked into my life desperate and terrified and still found the strength to negotiate, to demand dignity, even when you had no leverage. That's rare. That's valuable. And yes, I needed a wife who could play the part, but I also needed to remember why I'm trying to build something different than what my father left behind. I'm not your redemption. I know. You're just trying to survive, same as me. He reached out, touched the bracelet he'd given her. But maybe we can survive together better than we would alone. It wasn't a declaration of love, wasn't even particularly kind, but it was honest in a way nothing else between them had been. Aria stepped back. I'm exhausted. I need to get out of this dress and sleep for approximately 16 hours. Your room is through there. Your things have already been moved in. Of course they have. She headed for the bedroom, stopped at the door. Thank you for telling me the truth, finally. Don't get used to it. Truth is expensive. I don't give it away often. Then I'll treasure this one. She almost smiled. Good night, husband. Good night, wife. She closed the door between them. The bedroom was as excessive as the rest of the suite. Aria unzipped the wedding dress with difficulty, let it pool on the floor in a puddle of silk and lies, stood in her underwear and looked at herself in the mirror. Mrs. Aria Moretti. She didn't recognize herself anymore. The next morning, they flew to Italy on a private jet. Because, of course, Dante owned a private jet. Aria had never been on a plane before, and she refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing her amazed by any of it. She read medical journals the entire flight, while Dante worked on his laptop, and they barely spoke except when the flight attendant offered food or drinks. Sicily was beautiful in a way that made Aria angry. Rolling hills and ancient architecture and coastline that looked like postcards. They stayed in a villa that had been in Dante's family for generations, all stone walls and terracotta tiles and views that went on forever. His family was there, mother, 2 aunts, a handful of cousins. They descended on Aria with kisses and rapid Italian and questions she only half understood. Dante's mother, Elena, was elegant and sharp-eyed. She pulled Aria aside the first evening while everyone else was at dinner. "You do not love my son." It wasn't a question. Aria considered lying, decided against it. "No." "Good." Elena's smile was small and sad. "Women who love Moretti, men suffer for it. Better to keep your heart separate, safer." "Did you love his father?" "Once. A long time ago, before he became what he became." Elena touched Aria's cheek gently. "My son is not his father, but he carries that weight, that fear of becoming the monster he was raised by. Be patient with him. He does not trust easily, does not love easily, but when he does, it is absolute. He doesn't love me, not yet, but he chose you. Out of everyone he could have married, he chose you. That means something. It means I fit the requirements for his business arrangement." Elena laughed. "You think my son would marry someone purely for business? He is many things, but he is not that cold. He saw something in you, something worth protecting, worth keeping close." She squeezed Aria's hand. "Give it time. 2 years is longer than you think." The days in Sicily blurred together. Aria and Dante played their parts for his family, for the photographers who somehow always found them, for the world that was watching to see if the marriage was real. They walked on the beach, had dinner at restaurants overlooking the sea, visited his family's properties, and smiled for photos that would end up in magazines. At night, they returned to separate bedrooms in the villa, and the performance ended. Except it started to feel less like a performance. Dante began telling her things. Small things. About his childhood here, before his father dragged him back to the city. About his grandmother who'd died when he was 12, the only person who'd ever called his father out for his cruelty. About how he'd wanted to study architecture before his father forbade it. Aria told him about her own dreams, about wanting to save lives because she couldn't save her father from himself, about feeling like she was always one step behind everyone else, always fighting to catch up. They didn't talk about love or feelings or anything that would require them to acknowledge what was building between them. But something was building anyway. On their last night in Sicily, they attended a family dinner that stretched for hours. Wine and food and laughter and stories told in Italian that Dante translated in whispers that felt too intimate. Walking back to the villa afterward, along a path lit by lanterns, Dante took her hand. Aria almost pulled away, then didn't. "Your family is nice," she said. "Loud, but nice. They like you, my mother especially. She said you have strength. Coming from her, that's the highest compliment. She also said I don't love you." Dante stopped walking. "What did you tell her?" "The truth, that I don't." "Good." But he didn't let go of her hand. "Love complicates things. And this isn't complicated enough? This is simple. We have an agreement, terms, an end date. Love would make it messy." "You sound like you're afraid of it." "I am." He started walking again, pulling her gently along. "I've seen what love does to people in my world. How it's used against them, how it destroys them. My father loved my mother once, and he spent 20 years making her pay for it. Not all love is like that. In my experience, it is." They reached the villa, stood in the courtyard under stars that looked fake. They were so bright. "What if it wasn't?" Aria asked. "What if you could have something real? Would you even want it?" Dante looked at her like he was trying to solve an equation with no answer. "I don't know. I've spent so long building walls that I'm not sure what's left inside them anymore. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you've locked yourself in so tight that you forgot how to let anyone else in. Maybe that's by design. Maybe it's just lonely." His jaw tightened. "I should say goodnight." "Dante, good night, Aria." He went inside without looking back. Aria stood alone in the courtyard for a long time, trying to figure out when this stopped being simple and started being something else. They flew back to the city 3 days later. The honeymoon was over. Real life, or whatever passed for real in their arrangement, was beginning. The penthouse felt different when they returned. Less like a hotel, more like a prison they were both serving time in. Aria threw herself back into medical school. Classes, studying, research, anything to avoid thinking about the fact that she was now married to a man she barely knew and somehow couldn't stop thinking about. Dante buried himself in work. Meetings, deals, the constant maintenance of the empire he was trying to legitimize. They lived in the same space but occupied different worlds, except for the events. Those kept coming. Galas, fundraisers, business dinners, where Aria had to smile and play the devoted wife while men who'd killed people discussed quarterly earnings. And slowly, impossibly, she got good at it, better than good. She started to understand the game, the politics, the careful dance of power and influence that ruled Dante's world. She also started to see the cracks in his armor, the way his jaw tightened when certain associates questioned his decisions, the way he'd disappear into his office for hours after particularly difficult meetings, the way he'd stand at the window late at night, staring out at the city like he was looking for something he'd lost. 3 months into the marriage, Aria found him there at 2 a.m. She'd gotten up for water, seen the light under his door. She knocked. "Can't sleep?" "Apparently not." He didn't turn around. "You should go back to bed." Instead, she came in, sat on the couch. "Want to talk about it?" "No." "Want me to sit here in silence while you brood dramatically?" That got almost a smile. "You're mouthy tonight." "I'm mouthy every night. You're just usually too busy being mysterious and brooding to notice." He finally turned. "What do you want, Aria?" "Same thing as you, to get through the next 2 years with my sanity intact." She pulled her knees up. "Hard to do that when my husband looks like he's considering jumping out the window." "I'm not going to jump." "Good. The paperwork would be a nightmare." This time he actually smiled. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone more compliant, more intimidated. Someone who'd take the money and keep quiet and not ask difficult questions." "Sorry to disappoint." "You didn't. You've exceeded every expectation I had." He moved to sit across from her. "That's the problem." "How is that a problem?" "Because I wasn't supposed to like you. I wasn't supposed to enjoy your company. I wasn't supposed to look forward to coming home because I knew you'd be here." Aria's heart stuttered. "Dante, this was supposed to be simple. Business. Nothing more." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "But you make it complicated. You make me want things I can't afford to want." "What things?" "This. Us. Something real instead of performed." He looked at her directly. "And that's dangerous, for both of us." The air between them felt electric. "Why is it dangerous?" Aria's voice came out quieter than she intended. "Because I have enemies. Because my world is violent. Because anyone I care about becomes a target." He stood abruptly. "You should go. This conversation is over." "What if I don't want it to be over?" "It doesn't matter what you want. It matters what keeps you safe." "I'm tired of being kept safe. I'm tired of living in this beautiful cage where everything is controlled and nothing is real." "This is real." Dante's voice rose. "The threats are real. The danger is real. My father's enemies are real. And if they thought for 1 second that you actually mattered to me, they would use that. They would hurt you, kill you, just to prove they could." "Then don't let them know. They're already watching, already looking for weakness." He turned away. "I made a mistake, getting close to you, letting myself care. I won't make it worse by pretending this can be anything other than what we agreed to." Aria stood, walked to him, put herself in his line of sight. "What if I want it to be more?" "You don't know what you're saying." "Yes, I do. For the first time since this started, I actually know what I'm saying." She reached for his hand. He pulled back. "I don't love you. I'm not going to pretend I do. But I like you. I like the man you are when you stop trying to be the man your father wanted. And I think maybe you like me too. So why can't we at least try to make this bearable? Because bearable leads to comfortable. Comfortable leads to attached. And attached leads to loss." His voice was hollow. "I've lost enough. I won't lose you too." You can't lose what you never had. Exactly. So let's keep it that way. He walked out of his own office, left her standing there alone. Aria didn't follow. She went back to her room, climbed into bed, and stared at the ceiling until morning light crept through the windows. Something had shifted tonight. Some line had been crossed or almost crossed, and neither of them knew how to uncross it. The next week, Dante started coming home later. Missing dinners they'd fallen into the habit of sharing, being polite but distant when they did interact. He was building the walls back up, reinforcing defenses against whatever he'd felt starting to grow between them. Aria told herself she didn't care. This was what she'd signed up for. Distance, professional courtesy, 2 years and done. But she'd started to care anyway. And that was the worst betrayal of all. Not of him, of herself. She'd promised herself she wouldn't get attached, wouldn't let this become real, wouldn't fall for the broken man playing savior while drowning in his own demons. She'd broken every promise, and she had no idea how to fix it. 4 months into the marriage, Aria discovered that Dante was still seeing someone else. She hadn't been looking for evidence. That was the worst part. She'd been trying to respect the boundaries he'd so carefully rebuilt, trying to convince herself that professional distance was exactly what she wanted too. Then she found the receipt. It fell out of his jacket pocket while she was hanging it up, a stupid domestic gesture she'd started doing without thinking. The jacket had been thrown over a chair in the living room, and Aria had picked it up purely out of habit. The receipt was from Valentino. A women's necklace, purchased 3 days ago. $22,000. Aria stared at it, her brain trying to make it make sense. Their anniversary wasn't for months. Her birthday had already passed. He'd given her a first edition medical textbook she'd mentioned wanting, thoughtful in a way that had surprised her. This wasn't for her. She should have put it back. Should have forgotten about it. Their contract didn't include fidelity. Dante had never promised her loyalty beyond appearances. She had no right to feel betrayed, but she felt it anyway. Sharp and cold and absolute. She was still standing there holding the receipt when Dante came home. It was late, almost 11, but earlier than he'd been arriving lately. He saw her face first, then the paper in her hand. Aria. Who is she? Her voice was steadier than she felt. It's not... Don't lie to me. Not about this. She held up the receipt. $22,000, 3 days ago. So who is she? Dante's jaw tightened. He set down his briefcase with careful precision. Her name is Isabella. We've known each other for 5 years. The confirmation hurt worse than the discovery. Are you sleeping with her? That's not relevant. It's relevant to me. Our agreement didn't include sexual exclusivity. You know that. Our agreement also didn't include me being humiliated while you buy expensive jewelry for another woman. Aria's hands were shaking. How long has this been going on? Since before we met. And you didn't think to end it when you married me? Why would I? Dante moved to the bar, poured himself a drink like they were discussing the weather. This arrangement is business. Isabella is personal. They're separate. They're not separate. Not when you're lying to everyone about what we are. Not when I have to smile and play the devoted wife while you're... She couldn't finish the sentence. While I'm what? Living my life? Maintaining relationships that existed before you? He took a drink. You're being emotional about something that was never part of the contract. The contract, right. Because that's all this is. All it's ever been. Aria threw the receipt on the table. Tell me something, Dante. That night in your office when you said you cared about me, when you said you were afraid of what you were starting to feel, was any of that real, or was it just another performance? His expression closed off. I told you that night was a mistake. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. He set down his glass. I'm sorry you found out this way. I should have been more careful, but nothing has changed. Isabella has nothing to do with our arrangement. Except you're buying her $22,000 necklaces while I'm here pretending to be your wife. You're not pretending. You are my wife. Legally, publicly, that hasn't changed. But privately, I'm nothing. Just the woman you hired to make you look legitimate while you keep your actual life separate. Aria felt something crack inside her chest. Got it. Thanks for the clarification. Aria, I'm going to bed. Enjoy your drink. Or, better yet, go see Isabella. I'm sure she'd appreciate the visit more than I appreciate your company right now. She walked to her room before he could respond, locked the door, sat on the edge of her bed and tried to remember how to breathe. This shouldn't hurt. She'd known what she was signing up for, known Dante wasn't offering love or even monogamy, known this was temporary and transactional and nothing more. But somewhere along the way, she'd started to hope. Started to think maybe the moments of connection were real. Maybe the conversations at 2 a.m. meant something. Maybe the way he'd looked at her in Sicily, like she was something precious and terrifying, hadn't been her imagination. She'd been wrong. Aria didn't sleep. At some point past midnight, she heard Dante leave the penthouse, heard the private elevator descend. He didn't come back. The next morning, she went to class like nothing had happened, sat through lectures on pharmacology and pathophysiology, and took notes with mechanical precision. Marcus caught her afterward. "You look like hell." "Thanks. That's exactly what every woman wants to hear." "I'm serious. What's wrong?" He pulled her aside, away from other students. "Is it Moretti? Did he hurt you?" "No. He didn't hurt me. He just reminded me what I actually am to him." Aria adjusted her bag. "Which is a business arrangement, nothing more." "Aria, I'm fine, Marcus, really. I just had a reality check. Needed one, apparently." She forced a smile. "I have to get to the library, exam next week. Do you want to study together, like we used to?" The offer was kind, normal. A piece of her old life when things made sense. "I can't. Security." She gestured to Vincent, who was waiting at a respectful distance. "But thank you." She left before he could see her fall apart. The library became her refuge. Aria buried herself in textbooks and journal articles, studying with the kind of intensity that left no room for thinking about anything else. She stayed until closing, then went back to the penthouse and locked herself in her room before Dante returned. They didn't speak for 3 days. On the 4th day, there was a gala, one of those events they were contractually obligated to attend together. The mayor would be there, donors, press, all the people who needed to see the happy couple. Aria put on the dress Catherine had selected, did her own makeup because she couldn't stand the thought of someone touching her face while she was this fragile. Looked at herself in the mirror and saw a stranger who'd gotten very good at lying. Dante was waiting in the living room when she emerged. He'd clearly prepared to say something, his mouth opened, then closed when he saw her expression. "We should go," she said. "Can't be late." The car ride was silent. At the gala, they fell into the performance like actors who'd done this scene 100 times. Dante's hand on her waist, Aria's smile bright and empty. Conversations with strangers about how wonderful married life was, how lucky they were, how in love. Aria drank more than she should have. Not enough to be obvious, but enough to numb the sharp edges of everything. Halfway through the evening, a woman approached them. Tall, dark-haired, stunning in a way that made Aria feel like a child playing dress-up. "Dante, it's been too long." Aria knew before Dante said her name, knew from the way he stiffened slightly, the way his hand tightened on her waist. "Isabella, I didn't know you'd be here." Last-minute invitation, the mayor wanted to discuss the hospital wing renovation. Isabella's smile was warm, genuine. Then she turned to Aria. "You must be his wife. I've heard so much about you." "Funny. I haven't heard anything about you." Aria's voice was sugar-sweet poison. Isabella's smile didn't falter. "Dante's always been private. It's one of his most admirable qualities. Among many, I'm sure." The tension could have cut glass. Dante stepped in smoothly. "Isabella works in hospital administration. We've collaborated on several charitable projects." "How noble." Aria took a sip of champagne. "The necklace you're wearing is beautiful. Is it new?" Isabella touched the necklace, diamonds and sapphires, elaborate and expensive. The necklace. "A recent gift, from someone very generous." "Dante is generous, aren't you, darling?" Aria looked up at her husband with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Always giving gifts to people who matter to him. Dante's expression was a mask. "If you'll excuse us, Isabella, we should make our rounds." "Of course. Lovely to meet you, Aria." "I'm sure." Dante steered her away, his grip firm enough to bruise. "What the hell was that?" "That was me being the perfect wife. Charming, gracious. Everything you're paying for. You were being cruel." "Was I? I thought I was being honest." Aria pulled free of his grip. "But I'm sorry if my emotions are inconvenient for you. I'll make sure to be more professional next time you parade your mistress in front of me. She's not my mistress. Then what is she? Dante didn't answer. That's what I thought. Aria set down her champagne glass. I'm leaving. You can stay, go home with Isabella. I don't care. But I'm done performing for tonight. We have obligations. Oh, you have obligations. I have a contract that says I smile and show up. I've done both. Now I'm leaving. She walked away before he could stop her. Vincent materialized at her side immediately. Take me to the car, please. Vincent didn't ask questions, just guided her through the crowd and out to the Mercedes. Aria sat in the back seat while Vincent drove in silence. She didn't cry. She was past crying. She just felt hollow. They were halfway to the Belmonte when her phone rang. Dante. She declined the call. He called 3 more times before she turned off her phone entirely. Back at the penthouse, Aria changed into her own clothes. Yoga pants and an old university sweatshirt, things that belonged to her old life. She made tea she didn't drink and sat on her bed trying to figure out how she'd gotten here. 6 months ago, she'd been a student with simple problems. Money. Grades. Her mother's health. Hard problems, but at least they made sense. Now she was married to a man who'd somehow worked his way under her skin while keeping her at arm's length. A man who could be thoughtful and distant in the same breath. Who could talk about caring for her while buying jewelry for another woman. She'd been an idiot to think it could be anything else. It was almost 2 a.m. when she heard the private elevator. Heard Dante's footsteps in the hallway. A pause outside her door. Then a soft knock. Aria. She didn't answer. I know you're awake. I can see the light under the door. Go away, Dante. We need to talk. No, we don't. We need to maintain professional distance and honor our contract, that's all. Silence. Then, I ended it. With Isabella. Tonight. It's over. Aria's chest tightened. I didn't ask you to do that. I know, but I did it anyway. Another pause. Can I come in, please? She should say no. Should maintain the walls she was trying to build. Should protect herself from whatever this was turning into. Instead, she unlocked the door. Dante stood there looking more disheveled than she'd ever seen him. Tie loose, jacket gone, hair slightly messed like he'd been running his hands through it. You didn't have to leave, he said. You embarrassed yourself. Embarrassed me. I know. I'm sorry. He moved into the room without waiting for invitation. But you were right. Having her there it wasn't fair. Nothing about this is fair. I know that too. He sat on the edge of her bed, uninvited but somehow not unwelcome. I've been handling this wrong. All of it. You. Us. This arrangement that stopped being just business somewhere along the way. When did it stop being business for you? Sicily? Maybe before. I don't know exactly when. He looked at his hands. I just know that at some point coming home started meaning coming to you, and that terrified me. So I pulled back, got distant, kept seeing Isabella because she was familiar and safe and didn't make me feel things I couldn't afford to feel. What things? Hope. That maybe I could have something real. That maybe I didn't have to be alone in all this. He met her eyes. That maybe you could be more than just the woman I hired. Aria's heart was pounding. Dante. I'm not good at this. At feelings. At being vulnerable. My father beat that out of me a long time ago. But I'm trying. For you. Because you deserve better than what I've been giving. I don't know what you're giving. I don't know what this is. Aria gestured between them. 1 minute you're telling me you care. The next you're buying jewelry for another woman. I can't keep up. Can't keep pretending I don't care when you pull away. Then stop pretending. What? Stop pretending you don't care. Stop pretending this is just business. Stop pretending you don't feel what's happening between us. He moved closer. Because I'm done pretending. I care about you more than I should, more than is smart, and I want to try to make this real. Not for the cameras, not for the contract. For us. That wasn't the deal. Deals change. People change. His hand found hers. I'm changing. Because of you. And I think you're changing too. Aria wanted to pull away, wanted to protect herself, but his hand was warm and solid and real. What about Isabella? It's over. Completely. I told her tonight. Dante's thumb traced circles on her palm. She understood. We both knew it wasn't going anywhere. It was just comfortable, safe, something I could control. And this isn't something you can control. No, this scares the hell out of me. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe with anyone else. It was the most romantic thing he'd ever said to her. Also the most terrifying. I don't love you, Aria said quietly. I want to be clear about that. I don't know if I can love you, if I even know how to love someone like you. I don't love you either, but I could, given time, given a chance. He squeezed her hand. And maybe that's enough to start with. What if it goes wrong? What if we try this and it falls apart? Then it falls apart. But at least we'll know we tried. At least we'll have something real for however long it lasts. He leaned closer. I'm tired of living in fear of what might happen. I want to live in what's happening now. And right now, I want you. Want this. Want to see where it goes. Aria looked at him, at this complicated, damaged man who'd bought her and controlled her and somehow made her care anyway. If we do this, there are rules, she said. No more secrets. No more other women. No more making decisions about my life without asking me first. Agreed. And if it doesn't work, if we can't make this real, we go back to the original contract. No hard feelings, no bitterness, just business until the 2 years are up. Agreed. And you have to actually talk to me about what you're feeling, what you're thinking. I can't read your mind, and I'm tired of trying. That one's harder, but I'll try. Aria studied his face, looking for the lie, the angle, the way he was using this to manipulate her. She didn't find it. What she found instead was hope, fragile and tentative, but real. Okay, she said finally. Let's try. Dante's smile was small, but genuine. Yeah? Yeah. But if you hurt me again, if you lie or disappear, or make me feel like I'm crazy for caring, I'm done. Contract or no contract. I'll walk away and you can deal with the fallout. Fair enough. He stood, pulled her up with him. So what now? Now you go to your room, I go to sleep, and tomorrow we figure out what trying actually looks like. Very practical. One of us has to be. You certainly aren't. He laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was startling and wonderful. At the door, he paused. Aria? Yeah? Thank you. For giving me a chance I probably don't deserve. You definitely don't deserve it, but I'm giving it anyway. Don't make me regret it. I'll do my best. He left. Aria locked the door and sat back on her bed, trying to process what had just happened. She'd agreed to try, to make this real, to risk getting hurt for the possibility of something genuine. It was the stupidest thing she'd ever done. It was also the bravest. The next few weeks were strange. Dante actually tried. He came home for dinner, asked about her day, told her about his work, the parts that were legal at least. They watched movies together, argued about everything from politics to whether pineapple belonged on pizza, fell into a routine that felt almost normal. He still worked too much, still had secrets he couldn't or wouldn't share, but he was present in ways he hadn't been before. Aria's mother noticed during one of her visits to Westbridge. You seem happier, different. Different how? Like you're not just surviving anymore, like you might actually be living. Her mother squeezed her hand. Is he good to you? Really? He's trying to be. That's all I can ask for right now. That's more than I expected from him already. Her mother smiled. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this wasn't the worst decision you ever made. It's still probably in the top 5, but not number 1? Aria thought about it, about Dante trying to be vulnerable, about tentative smiles and late-night conversations, about hope. No, not number 1. 2 months after the gala, Aria came home to find Dante cooking, actually cooking, not just ordering from the dozen restaurants that delivered to the penthouse. What's this? She set down her bag. Dinner. I'm making dinner. He gestured to the stove where something was definitely burning, or trying to. You cook? No, but I thought I should learn. For us. He looked embarrassed, which was somehow endearing. There's a tutorial. On my phone, it's pasta. How hard can it be? Based on the smoke, pretty hard. She helped him salvage what they could, which turned out to be edible, if not exactly good. They ate at the kitchen island instead of the formal dining room, and Dante told her about his day, a meeting that went badly, an acquisition that fell through, the kind of normal frustrations normal people had. I never asked, Aria said between bites. Why real estate? Why construction? If you were going to go legitimate, why not something easier? Because I'm good at building things, at taking something broken and making it functional. He refilled her wine. Seemed appropriate, taking my father's broken empire and building something better. Is it working? Some days. Other days I feel like I'm just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. He looked at her. But having you here makes it easier. Makes it feel like there's a point to all of it. Don't put that on me. I'm not your purpose. Not my purpose. My reason to hope it works out. He reached across the counter, took her hand. There's a difference. These moments kept happening. Small intimacies that felt enormous. Dante touching her hand, asking about her mother, remembering things she'd mentioned in passing. Aria started to believe it might actually work. That was when she found the phone. It was stupid luck. She'd been looking for her charger, thought she might have left it in Dante's office. Found it plugged into the wall behind his desk, next to another phone she'd never seen before. A burner. The kind you bought with cash and used for things you didn't want traced. Aria picked it up. It was locked, but the screen showed 3 missed calls from a number labeled only as R. She should have put it down. Should have walked away. Should have trusted the progress they'd made. Instead, she took it to Dante. He was in the living room reading through contracts. Looked up when she entered. Hey, I was just about to... He saw the phone in her hand. His expression closed off. Where did you find that? Your office, behind the desk. She held it out. Want to tell me why you have a burner phone? And who R is? Dante set down his papers carefully. It's work. What kind of work requires a burner phone? I thought everything was legitimate now. Most of it is. Some things are complicated. Complicated how? Complicated in ways I can't discuss. Not because I don't want to, because it's not safe. Aria felt cold. Safe for who? Me or you? Both. He stood, moved toward her. Aria, you have to trust me. There are parts of my business that I can't share, that I won't share. For your protection. Or you're lying, again, still, just in a different way. I'm not lying. Then tell me who R is. Tell me what these calls are about. Tell me something that proves this isn't just another secret you're keeping while pretending we're building something real. Dante's jaw clenched. I can't. Can't or won't? Both. Aria threw the phone onto the couch. Then we're done. Us trying, it's over. I can't keep doing this. Can't keep wondering what you're hiding. Can't keep giving you chances just to find out you're still the same closed-off, secretive man you've always been. You don't understand? Then make me understand. Talk to me. Trust me the way you're asking me to trust you. If I tell you, I put you in danger. Real danger. The kind that ends with people dead. His voice rose to match hers. Is that what you want? To know everything and become a target? I'm already a target. You said so yourself. So stop using my safety as an excuse and tell me the truth. They stood there, both breathing hard, the space between them full of everything unsaid. Finally, Dante spoke. The phone is for communications with a federal prosecutor. I've been feeding information to the FBI for the past 2 years. About my father's old associates, the ones who are still operating illegally, the ones who resist legitimization. Aria's anger deflated. You're what? I'm helping build cases, providing evidence, testimony, whatever they need to take down the real criminals still operating under the Moretti name. He moved to the window, his back to her. That's why I needed you, needed this marriage, because a man who's building a life, who's married and stable, is more believable as an informant than a bachelor with his father's reputation. You used me to make yourself credible to the FBI. I used you to save both of us. Those men, they would kill me in a heartbeat if they knew. Kill you too, just for being near me. But a married man trying to go straight, they believe that. The feds believe that. And it buys me time to help destroy what my father built. Aria sat down heavily. How long have you been doing this? Since my father died. It was the only way to truly separate from his legacy. to make sure the empire actually ended instead of just changing hands. And you couldn't tell me this because the fewer people who know, the safer everyone is. Because if you knew and someone questioned you, tortured you, you could give it up. He turned to face her. I didn't tell you because I love... He stopped, started again. Because you matter, and I won't risk you for anything, not even honesty. The word he'd almost said hung in the air between them. Love. You were going to say you love me, Aria said quietly. I don't know what I was going to say. Yes, you do. Dante's control finally cracked. Fine, yes, I love you. I didn't mean to, didn't want to, but somewhere between hating how much I needed you and realizing I couldn't imagine my life without you, it happened, and I'm terrified, because everyone I've ever loved has been used against me or taken from me, and I can't lose you too. Aria stood, walked to him, put her hand on his chest, felt his heart racing. You should have told me about the FBI, about all of it. I know. I could have helped. Could have been part of it instead of kept in the dark. I know that too. And you can't protect me by keeping secrets. That's not how trust works. I'm learning that. His hand covered hers. I'm sorry. For the secrets. For the phone. For making you doubt everything we've built. Aria looked up at him. At this man who'd been broken by his father and was trying desperately to be better. Who'd bought her and controlled her and somehow fallen in love with her anyway. I don't love you yet, she said. I want to be clear about that. I don't know if what I feel is love or just proximity, survival. The weird bond you form with someone when you're trapped together. I know, but I could love you? If you stop pushing me away every time we get close, if you actually let me in instead of protecting me from yourself. I can try. You keep saying that. Try harder. And then she kissed him. It wasn't their first kiss. They'd kissed at the wedding, kissed for cameras a dozen times since. But this was different. This was real. This was choosing each other instead of performing for the world. Dante pulled her closer, his hands in her hair, kissing her like she was oxygen, and he'd been drowning. Aria kissed him back, pouring months of frustration and hope and fear into it. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. I don't know how to do this. How to be in a relationship, how to be vulnerable, how to be anything other than what my father made me. Then we'll figure it out together, both of us clueless and terrified and trying anyway. That sounds terrible. It probably will be. She smiled. But at least we'll be terrible together. He laughed, pulled her close, held her like she might disappear if he let go. And for the first time since this whole thing started, Aria felt like maybe they had a chance, not a guarantee, not a promise, just a chance. And right now that was enough. 3 weeks after the kiss that changed everything, Aria came home to find Dante's office door open and voices inside. Angry voices. She recognized Vincent's controlled tone, then another man she didn't know. Telling you it's not safe anymore. They're asking questions. Rodriguez knows something's wrong. Aria froze in the hallway. Rodriguez doesn't know anything, Dante said. He's paranoid, that's all. Paranoid people are dangerous people, especially when they're right. The unknown voice was sharp. You need to be more careful, both of you. We're careful. Not careful enough. Your wife was seen talking to Marcus Chen last week, alone, without security. Aria's blood went cold. She had grabbed coffee with Marcus between classes. Just 30 minutes. Vincent had been right outside the cafe, but technically she'd sent him to the car while she and Marcus talked. She'd thought it was fine, thought she could have one normal moment. Apparently not. I'll talk to her, Dante said. You need to do more than talk. Rodriguez has people watching her, watching both of you. If they find out what you're doing, who you're working with... The man didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Aria backed away silently, went to her room, closed the door. Her hands were shaking. Rodriguez. She knew that name. Carlo Rodriguez, one of her father's oldest associates, a man who'd been at their wedding, who'd kissed her hand and welcomed her to the family with a smile that never reached his eyes. A man who was apparently having her followed. 20 minutes later, Dante knocked on her door. She opened it to find him looking exhausted and worried. You heard? Most of it. He came in, closed the door behind him. I should have told you about Rodriguez, about how dangerous this is getting. Yes, you should have. Aria sat on the bed. Is it true? Is he having me followed? We think so. Carter spotted 2 of his men outside your university. They've been tracking your movements for the past week. Why? Because he suspects I'm not who I claim to be. That I'm working against him and the others who want to keep operating the way my father did. Dante sat beside her, careful not to touch. He's testing me, looking for weakness, and I'm the weakness. You're the person I care about most, which makes you the perfect leverage. Aria tried to process this. What do we do? We're careful. You don't go anywhere alone. You don't talk to anyone without Vincent present. You follow every security protocol, even the ones that seem excessive. For how long? Until the FBI moves. They're close. Another month, maybe 2, and they'll have enough to take Rodriguez and the others down. But until then, I'm bait. You're protected. There's a difference. Is there? Aria looked at him. Because from where I'm sitting, I'm the thing Rodriguez will use to hurt you, and you're trying to protect me while also using me to maintain your cover. So which is it, Dante? Am I your wife or your prop? His jaw tightened. You're both, and I hate that. But I can't change it without blowing everything I've spent 2 years building. What if I don't want to be both anymore? What if I just want to be safe? Then we run. I pull out of the FBI deal, we disappear, and we spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. He met her eyes. Or we finish this. We survive the next 2 months, and we're free. Actually free. No more father's legacy. No more secrets. Just us. You're asking me to trust you. I'm asking you to survive with me. One more time. Aria wanted to say no. Wanted to demand he end this now. Protect her instead of using her. But she understood what he was building. Understood that walking away meant abandoning everyone else still trapped in his father's world. And despite everything, she believed he would protect her. Would die protecting her, probably. 2 months, she said finally. And then this is over. The FBI gets what they need, Rodriguez goes to prison, and we figure out what we actually are to each other without all this hanging over us. Deal. He kissed her forehead, a gesture so gentle it made her chest ache. The next 6 weeks were tense. Aria went to class with Vincent, shadowing her every move. Came home immediately after. Stayed in the penthouse when she wasn't in class. Her life became smaller, more controlled, a gilded cage she couldn't escape. Marcus noticed. You're being watched. Like, actually watched. There are men sitting in cars outside the building during your lectures. I know. Aria, what's going on? Is he doing this? No. He's protecting me from the people who are. She grabbed her books. I can't explain more than that. Just trust me. I'm handling it. Are you? Because you look terrified. She was terrified. Every day she waited for something to break, for Rodriguez to make his move, for the careful house of cards Dante had built to collapse. Instead, something else broke. Aria got the call at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, then something made her pick up. Is this Aria Moretti? A woman's voice, professional and cold. Yes. This is County General Hospital. Your husband was brought in 20 minutes ago. Motor vehicle accident. You should come immediately. The phone slipped from Aria's hand. She was dressed and in the elevator before her brain caught up with her body. Vincent materialized from wherever he'd been waiting. Miss Moretti? Hospital. Now. Dante was in an accident. Vincent's expression didn't change, but he moved faster than she'd ever seen him. They were in the car and speeding through empty streets within 90 seconds. What happened? Aria's voice was shaking. I don't know. I wasn't with him tonight. He took his own car, said he needed to drive. Where was he going? I don't know that either. County General's emergency entrance was chaos. Aria pushed through to the front desk, where a nurse looked up with tired eyes. Dante Moretti. He was brought in. Are you family? I'm his wife. The nurse's expression softened slightly. He's in surgery. Trauma Bay 2. The doctor will update you when there's news. What happened? How bad is it? The doctor will explain everything. There's a waiting area on the 3rd floor. Aria didn't remember walking to the 3rd floor. Didn't remember sitting down. The next thing she knew, Marcus was there, Someone must have called him, sitting beside her in silence. At 4:17 a.m., a surgeon in blood-stained scrubs came out. Dr. Reeves, the same doctor who'd saved her mother. Mrs. Moretti? Aria stood on legs that didn't feel stable. Is he... He's alive. Critical but stable. He has a collapsed lung, broken ribs, internal bleeding that we repaired. Head trauma. We're monitoring for brain swelling. Dr. Reeves pulled off his surgical cap. The next 48 hours are crucial. If he makes it through that, his prognosis improves significantly. Can I see him? He's in ICU. Sedated. But yes, you can sit with him. The ICU was all beeping machines and sterile lighting. Dante lay in the bed looking smaller than she'd ever seen him. Tubes and wires everywhere. A ventilator breathing for him, bruises already forming on his face. Aria sat in the chair beside him and took his hand carefully, mindful of the IV. You're an idiot, she whispered. You're supposed to be the one protecting me, and you go and drive into what? What happened? A nurse came in to check his vitals. Do you know what happened? Was it weather? Another car? The nurse hesitated. The police said it looked like he swerved to avoid something, lost control, hit a concrete barrier at high speed. Aria's stomach dropped. Swerved to avoid what? They're still investigating. After the nurse left, Vincent appeared in the doorway. His expression was grim. It wasn't an accident. What? Security footage from nearby shows another vehicle. It forced him off the road, deliberately. Vincent's voice was flat. Rodriguez. It has to be. He tried to kill him. He tried to send a message. If he wanted Dante dead, he would be. Vincent moved closer. This was a warning. Stop whatever you're doing, or next time it's worse. Aria looked at Dante's unconscious form. At the man who'd bought her, controlled her, somehow made her fall in love with him despite every reason not to. Where's Rodriguez now? We don't know. He's disappeared, went underground after the accident. Find him. Aria stood, still holding Dante's hand. I don't care what it takes. Find him and make sure he pays for this. Vincent studied her. That's not how Mrs. Moretti talks. That's how his wife talks? Good. Because that's what I am. And nobody hurts my husband without consequences. Something shifted in Vincent's expression. Respect, maybe. I'll make some calls. He left. Aria sat back down, exhausted and wired and terrified all at once. Marcus appeared at the door. Aria, you should rest. I can sit with him. I'm not leaving. You've been here for 6 hours. You haven't eaten. You look like you're about to collapse. Then I'll collapse here. She looked at her friend. He's my husband, Marcus. Whatever you think of him, whatever he is, he's mine, and I'm not leaving him. Marcus came in, sat in the other chair. Then I'll stay with you. You don't have to. Yeah, I do, because you're my friend and you're going through hell, and that's what friends do. He handed her a coffee he'd gotten from somewhere. So drink this, lean on me if you need to, and we'll wait together. Aria took the coffee with shaking hands. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm going to have so many questions when this is over. Fair enough. The next 48 hours blurred together. Aria sat vigil while Dante fought for his life in medically induced unconsciousness. Doctors came and went. Nurses changed shifts. Her mother came in her wheelchair, held Aria while she finally cried. He's going to make it, her mother said with certainty. Men like him don't die in car accidents. They're too stubborn. What if he doesn't wake up? What if I never get to tell him what? That I love him. The words came out broken. I never said it back. He told me he loved me and I said I could love him eventually, but I never actually said the words, and now he knows. Trust me, baby, he knows. On the third day, Dante's sedation was reduced. His brain swelling had stabilized. The ventilator was removed. He breathed on his own, but he didn't wake up. It's normal, Dr. Reeves assured her. His body needs time to heal. Give him another day or two. Aria nodded, but did not leave. She sat and read medical journals aloud, told him about her classes, updated him on her mother's recovery. Talked to him like he could hear because the nurses said sometimes they could. On the fourth day, his eyes opened. Aria was reading an article on cardiac regeneration when she noticed. Looked up to find him staring at her with unfocused eyes. Dante. She stood so fast she knocked over her chair. Can you hear me? His eyes tracked her movement slowly. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. Don't try to talk. You had a breathing tube. Your throat's going to be sore. She pressed the call button for the nurse. You're in the hospital. You were in an accident, but you're okay. You're going to be okay. His hand moved slightly. She took it, squeezed gently. The nurse came in, checked his vitals, asked him questions. Could he follow the light with his eyes? Squeeze her hand? Blink twice if he understood? He did all of it. Good signs, the nurse said. Dr. Reeves will want to examine him, but this is very good. After the nurse left, Dante's eyes found Aria's again. His grip on her hand tightened slightly. You scared me, she said quietly. You scared everyone. Vincent's been losing his mind. Your mother's flying in from Sicily, and I've been sitting here for 4 days waiting for you to wake up so I could yell at you for being reckless. His mouth quirked slightly, almost a smile. Don't smile at me. This isn't funny. You could have died. You almost did die. Her voice cracked. And I never told you. I should have told you. He squeezed her hand again, clearly wanting to say something, but unable to make the words work. I love you, Aria said. I'm in love with you. Completely, stupidly, terrifyingly in love with you. And I need you to get better so I can tell you that when you're actually conscious enough to remember it. His eyes closed, but the almost smile stayed. Aria sat back down, didn't let go of his hand, and cried with relief. The recovery was slow. Dante regained his ability to speak in whispers, then full sentences, started physical therapy to rebuild strength, moved from ICU to a regular room to, eventually, the penthouse with round-the-clock nursing care. During those weeks, something fundamental shifted between them. Dante, stripped of his armor and control, couldn't hide anymore, couldn't pretend he didn't need her, couldn't maintain the walls he'd spent a lifetime building. And Aria discovered that taking care of him, helping him shower when he was too weak to stand alone, reading to him when the pain was too bad to sleep, sitting beside him during the nightmares that woke him screaming, wasn't a burden. It was love, messy and difficult and real. 6 weeks after the accident, Dante was strong enough to walk without assistance. The FBI had finally moved, arrested Rodriguez and 4 others based on evidence Dante had provided. The news called it the biggest organized crime bust in a decade. Dante watched the coverage from the penthouse couch. Aria curled beside him. It's over, he said quietly. Actually over. My father's empire is done. How does that feel? Like I can finally breathe. He pulled her closer. Like maybe I can start building something new. What kind of something? Something legitimate, something I'm not ashamed of, something our kids wouldn't have to apologize for. He paused. If we have kids, eventually, maybe. Aria looked up at him. Are you proposing a future with me? A real one? I'm proposing we stop pretending this has an expiration date. I'm proposing we tear up the contract and start over, as 2 people who chose each other instead of being forced together. He turned to face her fully. I'm proposing we make this marriage real in every way, if you want that. What about the money, the settlement? Keep it. It's yours. You earned it by putting up with me. He touched her face gently. But stay anyway. Not because you're paid to, because you want to. Aria had spent 6 months preparing for the end of this arrangement, planning her escape, protecting her heart against the inevitable goodbye. She'd failed completely. On one condition, she said. Name it. You actually retire from all of this. The FBI work, the dangerous meetings, all of it. You build your legitimate empire and you let Vincent handle anything that even smells illegal. Because I'm not doing this, building a life with you, just to lose you to the same world that killed your father. Deal, I'm done. With all of it. He kissed her forehead. From now on, I'm just a boring real estate developer, married to a brilliant doctor. I'm not a doctor yet. You will be. And I'll be there when you graduate. When you do your residency. When you save your first life. He smiled. That's my future. Supporting yours. Being the man you deserve instead of the man my father made. Aria kissed him, soft and slow and full of promise. When they broke apart, Dante was smiling for real. Not the controlled expression he showed the world, the genuine thing he'd hidden for so long. I love you, he said. In case I haven't said it enough. I love you. You've said it plenty, but I don't mind hearing it again. I love you. I love you too. They sat there as the sun set over the city, two people who'd been bought and sold and broken down and somehow found something real in the wreckage. 3 months later, Aria's mother was fully recovered, walking, healthy, planning to volunteer at the hospital where she'd been a patient. She came to dinner at the penthouse at least once a week, had stopped looking at Dante like he was a threat, and started treating him like family. "You're good for my daughter," she told him once when Aria was in the kitchen. "You gave her back something I thought she'd lost." "What's that?" "Hope. The belief that good things can happen even when everything seems impossible." She squeezed his hand. "Thank you for that. And for loving her." "Loving her is easy. She makes everything else make sense." 6 months later, Aria graduated top of her medical school class. Dante was in the front row next to her mother, cheering louder than anyone when she crossed the stage. At the celebration dinner, Marcus pulled her aside. "I was wrong about him, about all of it. He's good for you." "He is, surprisingly." "You're happy, really happy. I haven't seen you like this since—" Marcus paused. "Actually, I've never seen you like this. This is new." "It is new. All of it." Aria looked across the room where Dante was talking to her mother, making her laugh about something. "I didn't think this could work. Didn't think we could be real. But somehow we are. Love's weird like that, shows up in the strangest places." Yeah, it does." 1 year after the accident, Dante proposed for real. Not with a contract or a business arrangement, with a ring and a speech about building a future together that had nothing to do with appearances or expectations. Aria said yes without hesitation. They got married again, a small ceremony with only the people who mattered. Her mother, Marcus, Vincent, Dante's family from Sicily. The priest who'd married them the first time looked confused but pleased. "I've never remarried the same couple before," he admitted. "First time didn't count," Dante said, looking at Aria. "This one does." The reception was nothing like the first wedding. No politicians or criminals or business associates, just family and friends and genuine celebration. During their first dance, their real first dance, Aria looked up at her husband and smiled. "Who would have thought? 6 months before everything fell apart, I was desperate and alone and about to make the worst decision of my life. Marrying me? Turned out to be the best decision, but I didn't know that then." She rested her head on his chest. "I thought I was selling my soul. Turns out I was finding it. Poetic. Very unlike you. Blame it on happiness. Makes me say stupid romantic things." Dante laughed, spun her around. "Say more stupid romantic things. I like them. I love you. I choose you. Every single day, I choose you." She pulled back to look at him. "How's that?" "Perfect. Absolutely perfect." They danced while the sun set and the string quartet played, and everyone who mattered watched two people who'd been bought and sold and broken down build something beautiful from the wreckage. Later, when the party wound down and they were finally alone, Dante pulled Aria close on the balcony overlooking the city. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "How lucky I am. How close I came to losing this. Losing you." He kissed her temple. "How grateful I am that you gave me a chance I definitely didn't deserve." "We both took chances we didn't deserve. That's kind of our thing." "True, but it worked out." "It did. Against all odds, it actually did." They stood there in comfortable silence, watching the city lights flicker like stars. Aria thought about the girl she'd been 18 months ago, desperate, terrified, willing to sell herself to save her mother. That girl had been brave in ways she hadn't appreciated then. That girl had survived. This woman, Mrs. Moretti by choice now, not contract, had done more than survive. She'd learned that sometimes the worst decisions lead to the best outcomes. That broken people can heal each other if they're brave enough to try. That love isn't always pretty or easy or what you expect, but it's worth fighting for anyway. She'd learned that you can sell 2 years of your life and end up buying a future you never imagined. And she'd learned that the man you marry for money might turn out to be the man you'd choose for love if you gave him, and yourself, a chance. "What are you thinking about now?" Dante asked, pulling her closer. "How 6 months before everything fell apart, I made a deal with the devil, and somehow ended up with an angel. I'm not an angel." "No, you're just mine, and that's better." He kissed her as the city spread out below them, full of people making their own impossible choices, taking their own dangerous chances, surviving their own ways. And somewhere in the middle of it all, two people who'd been bought and sold and broken had found something neither of them was looking for. They'd found home, not in a place or a contract or a carefully constructed arrangement, but in each other. And that, Aria realized as Dante held her close and whispered promises about their future, was worth more than any amount of money could buy. It was worth everything.